time we will vote on the applications. You may stay and hear how the applicants are decided, or you may leave following the hearing. The applicant and the town board will be sent a copy of tonight's decision. Any other person wishing to receive a copy of a decision can sign the sheet on the table at the front of the room. Those of you wishing immediate knowledge of the outcome of these proceedings may call the county zoning office tomorrow morning. The procedure will be as follows. After each applicant is read, the applicant, their agent, or representative will be asked to present their application, followed by any questions or comments from the committee. Then all correspondence will be read. Then others in favor will have a chance to speak. Anyone objecting will then have a chance to speak. I will then ask for a summary of the committee's field observations and staff comments. Finally, the applicant will be allowed a chance for a short rebuttal if they wish. Anyone wishing to speak, use the microphone, state their name, and direct their comments to the committee. Because of the number of applications tonight, I'm asking that all testimony be kept brief and to the point. The applicant will have 5 minutes to present information on their application, other than questions from the committee. Anyone else wishing to speak should limit their testimony to 3 minutes, and any rebuttal by the applicant also would be limited to 3 minutes. If you are testifying as a nearby landowner, please tell us where your property is located relative to the property. Tonight's hearing will be recorded, and recording will become part of the record. Comments that are based on hearsay or secondhand information, as well as slanderous or prejudicial remarks, will be ruled out of order. The committee has looked at all the properties and recorded with their observations. Any person affected by an administrative decision of the committee's has 10 days from the filing of tonight's decision to make an appeal. Such appeals are heard by the Board of Adjustments. Information and applications are available from the zoning office. The county assumes no liability and makes no warranty as to the legality of any construction commenced prior to the expiration of the 10-day period. I will now introduce the committee. Far left is Rusowski, Corp Counsel, Joe Piaski, Larry Crawford, Fred Gallerup, Bob Wadle, Terry Pockstead, Zoning Administrator to my right. My name is Mark Kirshner. The next thing I'd like to address everybody, if you have a cell phone, would you please turn it off? Thank you.
Good job.
Oh, way to go, Larry. First application that we will hear tonight, Ronald and Diane Dittler, Oshkosh, Wisconsin, have made application for a conditional use in accordance with sections 58-236, paragraph 18, and 58-454, paragraph 31 of the Waushara County Zoning Code to store a 2007 Forest River Incorporated 25-foot travel trailer in the AG General Agricultural Zone. Location, an approximate 16.34 acre parcel of land known as Lot 1 of Certified Survey Map number 6152, including easement, being part of the southwest quarter of the northwest quarter, section 33, town 20 north, range 13 east, town of Bloomfield, Aspen Avenue. Is the applicant present? Yes. Would you come forward, please? Would you state your name for the record, please?
Ronald G. Ditter.
Okay, can you tell us a little bit, Ron, what you have in mind? Or
What I did is I purchased 81 total acres of land off of Aspen Avenue, which is in the vicinity of the Pine Breeze Dairy Farm. The land was purchased for the strict purpose of deer hunting, to introduce the next generation of my family, my grandchildren, into deer hunting. Due to the nature of the property, about 99.9% of it is considered wetlands. There is one small section that the Corps of Engineers, the DNR, along with your land specialist, have come down and did an inspection of the land, and it's kind of been determined by all three parties that that is about the only area that I have the ability to park a small travel trailer to do an overnight during strictly a deer hunting season.
all right, the committee has a few questions they'd like to ask you, Ron, sure, for the record. Committee questions, please.
Yeah, some of these are questions I asked you answered yesterday, but we have to have them for the record. Has there been a recent survey?
Yes, the land was completely surveyed of all 81 acres prior to my purchase of the property.
Do you know where your lot lines are?
Yes, all corner posts are clearly marked.
You are aware that there is an easement on the property and that it will have to remove and relocate to allow legal placement of the trailer in the possible proposed location?
Yes, the initial front parcel was actually owned by a partnership. That partnership was dissolved, and I own both parcels with additional property, with the hope and dream of actually purchasing more land. So that is not a problem for me to have that eliminated to show up as one tax bill for those front two parcels.
Is the trailer a license and roadworthy?
Yes, it is. And I have provided proof of the registration, and I have paid the sales tax for the purchase of that trailer to the town of Bloomfield when that trailer was registered. So that payment has already been made.
Will the trailer be at least 100 feet from all lot lines?
That it cannot be based on the location, and that's why I did the second application for the variance to be within that 100 foot of the neighboring property line. One of the neighbors has given me a letter, which I've also turned into your committee, that basically has no issues with that. The other neighbor verbally has told me that he also has no issue.
If not, is it visible from neighboring properties or the public road?
For the most part, I would say no. Even in the dead of winter, the trailer would be placed approximately 4/10 of a mile off of Aspen Avenue. The grade of the property or the roadway to it does decline and just kind of disappear over a hill. From the location of the trailer, in the winter months, we could barely see the crossbar of the power lines on Aspen Avenue.
Will there be running water?
The only water will be transported or carried into the unit.
What type of sanitary facilities are you planning?
There is a holding tank within the camper facility, but a secondary sanitary system will be purchased upon approval of this, which would be I call it a metro construction type or a festival that I could trailer back out to the road for pump out purposes.
How often will you use the trailer?
The trailer would be used periodically throughout the bow hunting season, and then typically for the 9-day gun hunt, and that's pretty much about it. And a couple of visits during the winter to clear trails if we decide to spend the night.
Are you planning on making any improvements to the driveway access road to facilitate entry by yourself and emergency responders, should that become necessary?
I have already purchased a $1,300 brush cutter that is towed behind a four-wheeler. So for the first time in 40 years, I've been mowing the trail from Aspen Road down to the parking area.
Are there any other buildings or structures planned?
No.
Are there any other trailers in the area?
No, there are not.
Is a new driveway needed?
No.
Is this property in the management force program?
It is not.
Do you have any uniform property address number, fire number?
No, there's not a fire number. It's an easement right away to the beginning of the property that I purchased.
If an approval was granted, when would you place the trailer?
I would look to do it probably before the opening of the bow hunting season, which is basically about, 3 weeks away now.
That's all the questions I have.
Any other committee questions? I believe you did state that you were more or less using this for your grandchildren. Am I correct when we were out there?
Yes.
Yeah.
That is the intention, to introduce them to deer hunting. And
Okay, thank you, Ron.
thank you.
Correspondence?
We have two letters, one from the Army Corps of Engineers addressed to Kyle. As discussed during our on-site field visit on July 19th, our agency has no concerns with the placement of the travel trailer at the proposed location. We delineated the wetland boundary near the proposed site, and the trailer would not be parked in a wetland. However, due to the close proximity of wetlands near his property line, it appeared that there were no practicable sites that would meet the county's wetland setback. As stated previously, the Corps would have no issues with the county granting a variance to Ron Ditter to park his trailer at this location. In addition, it seems like the most logical place for the trailer to be parked in order to avoid any disturbance to his property and the adjacent wetlands. Please feel free to consider our comments in your determination. Also, please let me know if you have any questions. Thank you for coordinating this project with our agency. And that's signed Eric Norton, U.S. Army Corps of Engineers. And then when Mr. Ditter made his application, he did provide us with a letter from Pine Breeze Dairy. It says, I, Pine Breeze Dairy LLC, adjacent landowner to Ronald Ditter, will allow him to place a mobile camper trailer closer than the minimum 100 feet required to my property line. The camper must be placed on Mr. Ditter's property, and that's signed Brian L. Garretts from W1776 Aspen Avenue. That's it for correspondence.
Anyone in favor?
No one registered to speak.
Or object? Staff comments, please.
For the record, the committee has previously been furnished with a copy of the site plan and all other pertinent data for this and the other applications that they will be considering tonight. This time I would like to explain a little bit about conditional use permits. All defined zones have uses that are permitted outright, and then there are uses that may be permitted provided certain conditions are met. And that's what we're looking at here, a use that may be permitted provided that certain parameters can be complied with so that the use remains in keeping with the surrounding area and other land uses. In some counties, these permits are called special exception permits. It is the landowner's responsibility to provide the information that shows the committee this use is still in keeping with the zone and area it is proposed for, and that the conditions placed on it will ensure it will be a good neighbor to the surrounding landowners. When the committee visited the property, they did note that the proposed site is well hidden from the public road. They also noted that the access road should be improved to allow better access by the landowner and any emergency responders, and that if approved, a uniform address number should be assigned. As far as my comments go, I would caution the Planning and Zoning Committee about approving a conditional use application that does not meet the minimum requirements listed in the code. I'm not saying it shouldn't be done, but make sure that there are other conditions or site conditions that would allow an approval so that it still provides adequate protection to those surrounding property owners and meets the intent of the code. And that's it for my comments.
Okay. Is there anything that you'd like to add, Ron? No. Okay. Okay, thank you. Okay, the next application is a zone change. Jesse Kessenich, Montella, Wisconsin, Pineries Bank landowner, has made application for a zone change in accordance with sections 58-131 through 138 and 58-724, paragraph 5 of the Waushara County Zoning Code from an AG, general agricultural, to an MI, intense manufacturing, to a conditionally establish a slaughterhouse for wholesale processing, utilizing 3 existing buildings with a proposed construction of an L-shaped addition, being approximately 58 by 48 and 22 by 48, with a 12-foot by 96-foot loading dock on the main structure. Location, a 300 by 451 portion of an existing approximate 13.5 acre parcel of land known as Lot 1 of Certified Survey Map number 4850, being part of the southeast quarter of the southeast quarter, Section 22, Town 18 North, Range 8 East, Town of Coloma, fire number N979, County Road CH. Is the applicant or their representative present? Yes. Would you please come forward? Would you state your name for the record, please?
I'm Jesse Kesnick from Harrisville, Wisconsin.
Okay, can you tell us a little bit what you want to do?
I just want to build a slaughterhouse there, and we want to do 30 cows a day upon delivery. The cows will be taken directly off the trailer, placed into a holding facility, totally enclosed. Nothing will be visible from the road. It's all going to be on the northwest corner of the building, so nothing should be visible. I will kill the cows humanely. There will be an inspector on the site daily to a USDA inspector. He'll be there daily to take care of all the USDA rules, keep us everything good. I won't be spraying any wastewater on the ground or anything like that. I'll be, I was planning on asking you if you wanted to haul the wastewater or other, whoever I can call, Portage or Country Plumber, they'll have to pump that. I'll be signing contracts with major meat retailers as soon as I purchase the property. At this time, the building, the new addition, I plan to re-side the office, new windows, new doors, totally redo the place, bring it up to A1 operation. In summary, I plan on spending about $650,000 in investment on the place. I've met with the neighbors. I gave them a tour of the plant. I had a public informational hearing on July 1st, which was attended by 35 people approximately, to answer questions. I will be on the site daily to supervise operations. My wife will manage in the office, and I also plan to employ 8 to 10 people. So I'm hoping to hire them locally. So.
All right. Committee questions, please.
Yeah, we have quite a few for you here. Has there been a recent survey of this area?
Yes, there has. Not recently to, I think that'll have to be surveyed for the 421 feet, because, but the whole property has been surveyed. There's stakes there. I know where the property lines lie. But we would have to have it certified, surveyed for the front to be changed, right?
Not necessarily,
Okay. Okay.
but it's good to know exactly where the lot lines are, so.
Okay.
Do you know where the lot lines are?
Yes, sir.
Okay, what sort of traffic will there be and what sort of parking will you need?
Okay, we're going to have everything delivered by gooseneck trailer and pickups. There won't be any cattle pots in there. We're not set up to handle them. So there'll be like anywhere from 5 to 10 trucks, maybe 15 a day. I got other haulers, that bring them in. So when they come in, they may have 5, they may have 15. I can't control the number of cows they bring me, So it varies from day to day. It could go from 5 to 15 trucks. And they'll be all gooseneck trailers. There won't be any pots coming in there.
How many trucks for the product going out?
That'll be handled by like UW Meat Provisions and other people. I'm gonna guess. Can I ask Tom? He's I don't know exactly how many trucks are going to be coming in and out of there. It depends on the product, but I would have to estimate 2 a day, maybe 3 straight trucks.
You got enough parking, you feel?
Yes.
How many animals will be processed in a single day at peak operation?
30 animals.
And do you figure that for 5 days a week,
Yes.
every day?
Yep.
You're aware of the state building codes and other state and federal licensing requirements. Will they all be met?
Yes, sir. We got to have a HACCP plan. Everything's got to be up to code. Contact the USDA. They know what's going on here. So
You're planning on using the existing bathrooms and the septic system, and have you had these evaluated for code compliance?
yes, we plan on using them, and they said that they were good at this point to be used as what they were used for before.
Are there any floor drains in the building, and if so, where do these wastes drain to?
The floor drains will go into a holding tank. That's going to be 10,000 gallons, and that'll be pumped weekly. No Country Plumber said they were interested in pumping it, and I don't know what they do with it from there. I pay them to take it, and I don't know what they do with it.
Are you aware of the DNR requirements for disposal of industrial waste, such as processing water from the facility?
Yes.
Do you know what will be required for the treatment and disposal of this wastewater?
What would be required of it?
Yeah.
The wastewater, I don't know how we're going to treat it, but the wastewater will have to be pumped, like I said. And am I responsible for this stuff after it leaves my plant? If we have to put it in a water processing facility, then we'll do that. So
The processing wastewater of known strength will be hauled off-site,
Yes.
and you're not planning on any pre-treatment lagoons or any other devices are being proposed now?
No.
You're aware of the regulations and requirements of disposition of animal byproducts and the waste, and will you follow these requirements?
Yes.
Can you describe how you anticipate this process will work once the operation is underway?
Daily operation will be, trucks will arrive about 10 to 2 in the afternoon. Everything will be processed from that point. We'll start kill at 10 in the morning, kill cows until about 3 in the afternoon. We'll have a boning crew come in, bone the cattle out. That'll go into tubs, and we'll take them into the freezer from there, process the steaks, everything like that. Wastewater, or I meant to say guts, bones, all that stuff's going into a trailer. National Byproducts will pick that up daily. All the other wastes, like the dead animals, will be picked up by Red Granite every day, so that's all going to be taken care of daily. That'd be about this gist of it. We'll have UW Meat Provisions come in and pick the meat up, probably, I'm guessing they'll be there around 10 to 11 in the morning before lunchtime. They won't be there in the afternoon because we won't have no product till the next morning.
When you butcher the cows, do they have to hang for a period of time?
We're going to be selling boneless, so everything that was killed the day before will be boned out the next day. So if we do choice animals, then yes, we'll age. We will have an aging cooler for about 15 head.
Are you planning any advertising signs?
No.
Any other additions or other buildings planned other than what was shown on the site plan?
Did Fred mention, we do want to put an addition on to the one side for holding pens so everything can be enclosed. That would be the only thing we're going to do to it. And then the kill floor will go on the northeast corner of the building so that everything's enclosed. It all meets, flows in one end, goes out the other.
Will any animals be housed outside for any length of time at all?
Absolutely not.
Will there be any storage, will there be any outside storage of waste products or wastewater?
No.
Your product will all be sold wholesale, and you do not plan on having a retail store on the site, is that correct?
Nope.
No store. You plan on doing any cooking or smoking on this site?
Nope.
Any changes to the driveway being planned?
The only thing we would like to do is upgrade the back part of the building from its gravel, kind of broken up blacktop. When we get the addition done, we wanted to blacktop everything. That'd be the only thing we're going to do. Nothing will change size-wise or anything, just putting blacktop over the gravel.
If an approval is granted, when would the improvements be completed, and when will you plan to start the operation?
Well, I have to meet with the USDA, so I need 60 days. So if it's approved, we would start 60 days after that when we're permitted from the USDA.
I guess that's all the questions I have.
Okay.
All right, thanks, guys.
Is there any other committee questions? Okay, thank you. Correspondence?
Quite a few.
I know that.
We received a letter on August 20th. It's to the Waushara County Zoning. I am opposed to the rezoning of the former Coloma Meats to intensive manufacturing. I was in attendance at the informational meeting held in Coloma. I feel many of the questions and concerns were not addressed. I feel there needs to be further information regarding the water consumption. Will this property need to have a high-capacity well? When Coloma Meats was operating, there were not the number of homes with private wells in the area. It is not fair to the homeowners to possibly have their private wells compromised. I feel the daily manure problem has not been addressed. We were told the manure would be spread on the property and then corn would be planted. Where will the daily manure go while the corn is growing during the minimum of 4 to 5 months from planting to harvest? With the rezoning of the property to intensive manufacturing, will the local tax-paying homeowners have any input for possible future uses that could jeopardize our environment, safety, or health? When we purchased our property, Coloma Meats was a processing plant, not a slaughterhouse. We are not opposed to a business at the former Coloma Meats property, just the rezoning to intensive manufacturing and possible future problems. And that's signed Carl Seefelt, W13117 Cypress Avenue. On August 8th, we received a letter. It says, "My name is Maxine Gears. I live at N947 County Road CH, Coloma, Wisconsin. I'm 269 feet from the proposed site of the slaughterhouse. Before 1969, this was a slaughterhouse. That was before zoning and regulations was in place. Also, the owners live next door, the owner in one home and the son in the other home in which I live in now. I'm concerned about the health of the neighbors, the drinking water of all in the area, also the traffic in and out, sounds from the cattle, and also the terrible odor in which will be for miles. I will not be able to open my windows, sit outside, or work in my garden because the odor will be unbearable. My property values will go down. Who would want to buy or live next door to this? It will attract my bugs, rodents, rats, coyotes, and many other pests." In his letter, he has current buyers and found out no contracts were made. No one knows him. Ultrasound will have to be done on choice meats A, B, and C. All down cattle thrown or disposed of. Cannot process. The holding of cattle 5 to 7 days because of disease and spread of disease. What a health risk. No immediate kill, like he said at July 1st, 2013 meeting. Look how many cattle will be in a pen before the first slaughter happens. Sold sign was up on June 2013 and was took down 8/2/13. What games are being played? I don't want the intense manufacturing to go into effect. Also, many other plants this could become or turned into. I have much information attached and signatures against this. And that's signed sincerely Maxine Gears, Geers. And there is information and a petition attached that the committee did receive in their packets. On August 8th, we also received a letter to whom it may concern. This is a letter about my concerns, facts, and misleading comments about the rezoning of Coloma Meats in Coloma, Wisconsin. First, I must tell you that my husband and I live 110 feet from Coloma Meats. From door to door, it's 110 feet. We have 5 children, 3 of which still live at home, and 2 dogs. Our youngest is 9 and plays outdoors all year long. We purchased this house approximately 4 years ago on a foreclosure and have been gradually updating, fixing, and landscaping to add value to our home, as we will not live in a 4,200 square foot, 5-bedroom, 2.5-bath home forever, and would like to eventually sell and build our forever home. About 2 months ago, Fred Erickson came to me and told me there was a potential buyer for Coloma Meats. I thought it would be great to get a business in that decaying building. However, while we were talking, Mr. Erickson informed me that it would be a slaughterhouse. Immediately, red flags popped up in my head. I told him that a slaughterhouse wouldn't be the business that should go in that building. Our well is 37 feet from the property. That worries me with the spread of manure of sick or diseased animals so close to our well water supply. There's been no mention of the care disposal of manure. In the meeting held at the community center in Coloma, the potential owner, Jesse Kucinich, stated he lived on 500 acres in Montello and has contracts with Woodman's upon opening the slaughterhouse. Now in the letter he sent the zoning board, it stated he lives in Harrisville on a 40-acre farm. Current buyers include Woodman's, Coloma Supermarket, Stone Ridge, and UW Provisions. I actually talked to Steve and Colleen Peterson, the owners of Coloma Supermarket, and they stated they have never heard of him. They don't have any dealings with him and actually wrote a letter to the zoning board. I also talked to Tom Long from Woodman's, the meat purchaser, on July 26th, and he has never heard of this gentleman, nor does he buy from Montello, Harrisville area. Then I also talked to Dwayne from Stone Ridge. He also stated to me on July 26th he does not do any dealings with this man as well. So I thought I might as well call UW Provisions. I spoke with John, lead sales purchasing agent, and they do not have any dealings with him either. There is a phone number for him as well. He's obviously not being truthful about his contacts in the meat industry. 4 out of 4 have all said they do not deal with him or have any potential dealings with him. He also states all kinds of renovations, however, not one mention of a privacy fence, in which he stated he would do in the meeting July 1st. I spoke with Wisconsin Real Estate Appraisal, LLC, and I was told that we could for sure see a 35 to 40% value decrease. That would be the least. That I am not okay with. The odors, flies, rodents, and diseases that this slaughterhouse will bring to our property will not be pleasant. 90% of properties associated with slaughterhouses within 300 feet are owned by the business owner. The other 10% are vacant or for sale. That should say a lot. We would really like to see a business back in the buildings at Coloma Meats. However, a slaughterhouse should be located further away from the residential areas. Mr. Kucinich states he would use approximately 4,000 gallons of water a day. What will that do to the wells in our area? Will our well go dry? Where is the disposal of unneeded body parts get stored, disposed? How long do downed animals lay outside before getting picked up? How often is the holding pen cleaned? Where is the manure going to be spread? There's many other questions that need to be answered. Mr. Kucinich also stated he met with the neighbors and gave them a tour of the plant. My husband nor I were present. Mr. Erickson conveniently scheduled this meeting while my husband was out of town for work and I was working and had prior obligations. I am enclosing the petitions we had circulating, and I hope you will seriously consider our stand on this issue. We are opposed to living next door to a slaughterhouse. Thank you for your time and consideration. That's signed Matt and Kimberly Zulke. And again, there are attachments that the committee did receive. On August 8th, we received another letter from Bob Toeppe, T-O-E-P-P-E. I am the property owner of N974 County Road CH in Coloma, consisting of approximately 75 acres of recreational agricultural property. It has come to my attention that the property directly across the street, N979 County Road CH, has applied for a zoning change from general agricultural to intensive manufacturing to become a wholesale slaughterhouse. I am concerned with the treatment of the wastewater generated by the slaughterhouse, the odor generated, and potential rodent and insect attractant. There are several homes within the 300-foot radius of the said property that will be devalued if this change takes place. This just doesn't make sense. I respectfully request your denial of this zoning change. Again, that's signed Robert J. Toeppe from Racine. On August 8th, we received a letter from Rick Eberhardt, E-B-E-R-H-A-R-D-T, Dear Zoning Department. I am part owner and also represent the other owners of Pine Oak Hills located at N1143 County Road CH. It consists of approximately 118 acres and has been in our family approximately 45 years. The property is used mainly for recreational purposes, although some logging is done in order to comply with state forestry regulation. I am writing because I am concerned about the proposed zoning change to a parcel adjacent to ours and the impact this change will have on the value of our property and our enjoyment of our property. Since we use this mainly for recreation and land preservation, we see this change as having a major impact and to be detrimental to our uses. We would like to go on record that we oppose any zoning change as it would ultimately have an adverse effect on our property and its enjoyment. And that was signed Rick Eberhardt. On August 7th, we received an email from Bob Toeppe, T-O-E-P-P-E. It's addressed to Amy. I am the property owner of N974 County Road CH in Coloma, consisting of approximately 75 acres of recreational agricultural property. It has come to my attention that the property directly across the street, N979, has applied for a zoning change from general agriculture to intensive manufacturing to become a wholesale slaughterhouse. I am concerned with the treatment of the wastewater generated by the slaughterhouse, the odor generated, and the potential rodent and insect attraction. There are several homes within 300-foot radius of the said property that will be devalued if this change takes place. This just doesn't make sense. I respectfully request your denial of this zone change. On August 6th, we received a letter from John Rolane. My name is John Rolane, and this letter is in regards to the proposed rezoning of the property just around the corner from my house. I live on Cypress Avenue, and I am very concerned that the application by Jesse Kucinich to rezone the old Coloma Meats property from agriculture to intensive manufacturing will be detrimental to the residents in the neighborhood. I have so many problems with changing the zoning, I cannot list them all. There has been much speculation as to the number of jobs that will be created. I attended the meeting at the Coloma Center at the Community Center in Coloma on July 1st and heard from Mr. Kucinich that only 5 jobs will be filled by locals, the remaining 5 by friends from Madison and family. I do not see that this will benefit the community at all. The only ones that will reap any benefit will be Pineries Bank, who are very anxious to get rid of this white elephant, and Mr. Fred Erickson by collecting his sales commission, and the applicant. Although the county and the township may benefit from the tax revenue that this business will generate, it will not offset the decrease in real estate taxes that the homeowners will be asking for when property values go down anywhere from 30 to 40% for homes adjoining the Coloma Meats property, or the progressive decline of value depending on the distance. I feel that Mr. Kucinich and Mr. Erickson are both aware of this problem. Odor and noise is another concern of mine. It was stated by Mr. Kucinich that there would be some odor in the neighborhood. The noise of distressed animals in the holding pens will also be heard. Slaughtering of hogs squealing is especially disturbing. The holding pens are supposed to be inside, however, during the summer and warm weather, doors may be open, letting the sounds be heard. There's a 6-inch well on the proposed slaughterhouse property, which I question will be big enough to handle all the water needed to keep a clean and sanitary operation. All the blood cannot possibly be collected and stored in a tank to be hauled away. My question is the current septic system equipped for this kind of business, and does it meet all state and federal regulations? Will a high-intensity well have to be drilled and a new sanitary system built? What will all this do to the surrounding water supply? Will this affect our wells with contamination? The current building is old and has been added on to several times. Has the building been inspected by the state and approved for a slaughterhouse under all the current regulations? Intensive manufacturing zoning opens up a door for many undesirable businesses. No one goes into business with the expectation for failure. However, it does happen. The last owner failed and the building has been closed and not in operation for at least 2 years. Everyone wants to succeed and grow their business. If either the slaughterhouse fails or succeeds, I can see the future being back here requesting the remainder of the property also be rezoned, either for expansion or for another prospective buyer that wants to start another business that is not fit to be near a residential area. At the July meeting, Mr. Erickson stated that the zoning department said an unlimited amount of cattle, he used the number as 100, could be housed on the property under the agriculture zoning. The total parcel is approximately 13 acres, about 3 acres with buildings, 4 acres of open land, and the remaining in woods. I am not concerned about the present zoning. The neighborhood has accepted that, and we do not have any problem with it remaining the same or even rezoned commercial. I do not want the property changed to intensive manufacturing. In closing, I just want to say that I, as well as the other neighbors that do not want to see the zoning changed, do not want to stop just any business from going into the old Coloma Meats building. We all want the property to be used in a way that will not harm our property values and our right to live without the noise, odor, and pests that will be present. I am asking you to deny this zoning. And that's sincerely John Rolane, Cypress Avenue. On August 5th, we received a letter from Linda and Philip Paluchik. To whom it may concern, let the record indicate that Philip and Linda Paluchik are opposed to the sale of the now defunct Coloma Meats to Jesse Kucinich Jr. for the purpose of establishing a slaughterhouse. The repercussions of this type of business would not be suitable to the many private residences and trailer park campground located in close proximity to the property in question. Health hazards as it pertains to noise pollution, odor, industrial traffic, rodent fly infestation would greatly jeopardize living conditions and property values. A business of this type, although once located at this site in the past, would not now be appropriate as it relates to the current residential population. And then respectfully submitted, Linda and Philip Paluchik. Pawluczek. Oh, I wouldn't have known how to spell that. On August 5th, we received a letter from Joseph and Paula Maramonte, Maramonte. This is to inform you that we are opposed to the rezoning that you are considering to allow a slaughterhouse to be run on County Highway CH in the township of Coloma. As township residents, we see nothing good in this action. The few jobs that may be available will no doubt be minimum wage jobs that cannot support a family. The problems caused by a slaughterhouse far outweigh the good. Thank you for your consideration in this matter. Sincerely, Paula and Joseph Miramonte, N249 Shorewood Trail, Westfield. And on August 1st, we received a letter from someone. Glenn and Patricia Gramley, Gramly. Dear zoning board members, we own property adjoining the parcel that Mr. Kucinich is requesting to have rezoned from agricultural to intensive manufacturing at N979 County CH, Township of Coloma. This parcel is formally known as Coloma Meats Incorporated. His plan is to open a slaughterhouse and sell product wholesale. A couple of months ago, we and another neighbor met with Mr. Kucinich, his wife, and his realtor, Fred Erickson. At the time, we were given a tour of the plant and the opportunity to ask questions. Mr. Erickson gave each of us a form with suggested questions, and we made notes. On July 1st, we also went to an informational meeting with approximately 30 concerned citizens and a few Town of Coloma officials. The Kuciniches and Fred Erickson were present and in charge of the meeting. Our main concern is part of this property is rezoned to intensive manufacturing. It will open the door in the future to rezone the entire parcel. The past two owners of Coloma Meats have closed their business, the last owner going bankrupt and the bank foreclosing on the property. There were also many judgments against him. It is very difficult to start a new business, especially during these times and the strict regulations the USDA has imposed. Mr. Kucinich told us at the first meeting we had with him that he had an investor, and Mr. Erickson said that financing was in place with Montello Bank. During the second meeting, Mr. Kucinich addressed the question of financing and told us his father was the investor and he was paying cash for the property. He also stated that he was going to sell product to Woodman's and UWP. Upon questions from the neighbors, he admitted he did not have any contracts in place with Woodman's or anyone else. He is waiting for the zoning before he actively pursues a contract. However, his wife stated that they were in negotiations with Woodman's. The big problem is that if Mr. Kucinich does not get enough contracts to sustain his business, he will not be able to continue, and the property can be sold to anyone that will want to expand or start a business that the zoning of intensive manufacturing will allow and will be hazardous to the neighborhood. There are many discrepancies in answers we received at the two meetings and on the application they have submitted to the zoning department. To simplify the answers, I have listed them as meeting 1 and meeting 2 in application. And then there's a chart that talks about how many head per day, how many trucks, how many employees, hours, manure, and waste disposal. When asked about the truck traffic, we were told that all truck traffic will be on County CH coming from the north and traveling south to the slaughterhouse. None will be driving past homes on County CH. We do not know how this can be regulated by Mr. Kucinich, and it would bring all traffic right through the business district of the village of Coloma. We have many concerns and feel we are being told just what we want to hear at each meeting we attend, and the details change each time. Some people feel this business will create jobs in the area, but they are not aware that out of the 10 jobs Mr. Kucinich will be hiring for, 5 will be filled by his wife, 3 friends from Madison, and himself. This leaves only a maximum of 3 to 5 openings for locals willing to work in a slaughterhouse. There are statistics that show the industry has a 75% to 100% employee turnover rate each year, which means a constant flow of workers in and out of these jobs, leaving an unskilled and unstable workforce. The unskilled worker has the important and unpleasant job of the evisceration and tying off of the intestine. The worker not skilled can make mistakes, causing product and environmental contamination, endangering product, our wells, and land. We have been told by Mr. Erickson when asked if our property values will decrease, and his answer was yes. However, he stated that the neighbors all knew about Coloma Meats when we purchased our property. None of us have had a problem with the Coloma Meats operation in the past, but we do not feel a slaughterhouse should be located in the area with so many homes. It has been said that at one time Coloma Meats did slaughtering, so this is nothing new. However, this was 40 years ago, and there was not any zoning at the time. The homes closest to the business were once owned and occupied by the owner and employees of Coloma Meats. In fact, our property was once owned by the Coloma Meats owner. The question was asked about odor from the slaughterhouse, and Mr. Kucinich stated that there would be an odor. The neighborhood would be able to smell blood. The smell of animal blood is a horrendous and foul odor that will reek through our homes. Although there will be a ventilation system in place, this will only permeate foul odors outside. We will be unable to enjoy our yards in the summer or open our windows. Another big concern is the fly and rodent problem that slaughterhouses have. Although steps are taken to control the problem, rats and other scavengers will always be drawn to the property. Coyotes and wolves are in our area, and this will be just a draw for their permanent food source. Many of us have pets, and this will be a real concern. Much has been said about USD inspectors on the premises during working hours. However, the HACCP allows many inspection tasks to be done by the slaughterhouse owners themselves, leaving them to police their own facility. It has been said that any business opening on the property is better than the empty building sitting and decaying. Our answer to that thinking is, would you like to live next to a slaughterhouse? Would you rather see a less noxious and harmful business occupy the premises? The purpose of the intensive manufacturing zone is intended by Washera County to provide for uses which exhibit these characteristics. We realize that when we move to the country, agriculture is all part of the area, which we have not had any problem with. A business such as the previous owners of Coloma Meats operated would be more than welcome. We do not want to see the property rezoned to open the door in the future for expansion or harmful manufacturing, which this zoning will do. We respectfully request that the members of the zoning board give this request for rezoning deep thought and deny the intensive manufacturing zoning. Thank you for taking time to read our concerns. Signed sincerely, Glenn and Patricia Gramley. And again, that had quite a few attachments to it that the committee did receive and look through. And then finally, on August 2nd, we received a letter from the desk of Colleen Peterson at the Coloma Supermarket. It's addressed to Amy Bone. This letter is regarding Jesse Kasenich's application for zone change for parcel number 622-44-0100 in Coloma. In the letter, Mr. Kasenich included with his application, he lists current customers and includes the Coloma Supermarket as a customer. Please understand that this is not a true statement. There has been no contact made by Mr. Kasenich to either my husband or myself, the owners of the Coloma Supermarket. Several weeks ago, we were informed of the potential business, and my husband's initial reaction was a positive one. We like to hear that small business people want to be in this area. At this time, we do not have all the information regarding the business and the potential effect it could have on the environment or the neighborhood. We prefer to be fully informed and at this time have made no commitment to Mr. Kasenich. Signed, best regards, Colleen Peterson, store owner. That's it for correspondence.
Okay. Anyone registered in favor?
Oh, I did want to tell you one other thing. Out of all of the petitions that were submitted, we believe there's 114 signatures. There were some duplicates. We couldn't read all of them, and we do also think that approximately 10 people within 300 feet did sign the petition. Thought you might want to know that.
These are in favor?
Yep. Can you get a blank piece of paper so Bob can make more notes?
Okay. Speak in favor, Paul C. Adamski. State your name for the record, please.
Paul C. Adamski, I'm representative of the Pine Ridge Bank, Stevens Point, Wisconsin, which has been referenced in a number of the correspondence. The property has been owned by our bank for 4 years. Prior to that, it was operated by Tim Boss as a meat processing plant for 11 years. Needless to say, we had our issues with finances involved in that operation during that time, and as was mentioned earlier, it ended up in the foreclosure of the property, and we have not had an offer on the property other than Jesse's during the 4-year period. Actually, be 4 years beginning in October. I prepared these remarks before I heard much of your correspondence here, but the one thing that I thought was important was that there would be 8 to 10 new jobs that would be created when Jesse opened up the business. And I think the other thing that I felt was important, at least from my perspective, from the couple times that I've met with Jesse and the many times that Mr. Erickson has met with Jesse, is at least to us, we feel that he would end up being a good neighbor. He seems to have created a great work ethic. He's already been out to the property without even me coaching him. He's mowed the lawn, he's weed whipped, he's gone in there and done other things that he hasn't asked us to pay him for. He's shown an absolute sincere interest in making the place look the way he would hope it should be, so that the neighbors wouldn't be concerned about what might be going on. I believe from talking with him that he pays attention to detail. I also believe that the one thing that maybe is most important for the committee to consider and possibly for the neighbors to consider is this. If you do believe that the operation will be run in a manner in which he described today, I believe that that would mitigate a lot of the concerns that were mentioned in some of the correspondence. What the neighbors might be more concerned about, or should actually be considering, in my opinion, is if you got somebody in there who wasn't a good neighbor, bought the property and used it in the current zoning that it is right now, they could end up doing something over there that could be far worse than some of the allegations or suggestions of allegations that have been in the correspondence that's been listed. So you've got a known product here, you've got an individual who lives relatively close, people know him in the area, and the next buyer might be from Minneapolis, for all we know, or wherever it might be.
Okay. Thank you. Next applicant registered to speak, Tom Bates. State your name for the record, please.
Tom Bates. Jesse Kester hired me as a consultant a couple of months ago, and I've been in the packing house business for 40 years, and I've consulted for probably the last 9 years. What Jesse wants to do up there is, I think it's a good idea, and there's a lot of concerns against it, and I've seen these concerns before, but what people don't understand is USDA requires that you can eat off of just about any surface inside of that building. Holding pens included have to be cleaned every day. No rodent, you have to have a licensed rodent company in there. As far as the wastewater treatment goes, or wastewater, there won't be a treatment plant, but you have to have a licensed hauler to move it away. The slaughter of animals requires 105 gallons per head. That includes washing the animal, wash down, everything included. So if you're looking at anywhere from 15 to 30 heads a day, you're looking at 1,500 to 3,000 gallons of water per day. It'll never require a deep or a high output well or anything like that. Fly and rodent control, you have to have a license. I think I mentioned that. You have to have a licensed person come in, or a licensed company. Review it every 30 days. They have to check it. You're weekly, if not daily, inspected by USDA for fly and rodent control. If they find it, you're out of business. And then you have to go, now you have to go to Iowa instead of Madison and say, listen, I got the problem corrected, can I have my license back? So before the flies and the rodents ever become a problem to a neighbor, they're going to be a problem to Jesse. So I don't see that as a problem. I see a lot of concerns by neighbors, but really not that many concerns that aren't stopping.
Okay.
So I think that's about it.
Okay, thank you. Next applicant registered in favor to speak, Tony Humphrey.
My name is Tony Humphrey from Sun Prairie, Wisconsin. I'm in favor of this, and to the point of I am an investor. And I've been in the meat equipment business for about 40 years. I dealt with Bob Metzer. And I was just here for any questions that you might have, or that Jesse or Tom might need my expertise on. I've also traveled the state for 40 years, and I've been by the slaughterhouses and experienced the smells and so on and so forth that do or don't exist anymore. And I think that it's a little bit overblown in my estimation because of all the tracking and safeguards that they have, USDA and all other people involved in that safeguarding.
Okay.
And that's all I have for you.
Okay, thank you, Tony. Okay. Speak in opposition, Deborah Zilke. state your name for the record, please?
I'm Deborah Zilke. I own the property that is adjacent to that. My son and daughter-in-law live there. I have a 9-year-old granddaughter raised there that is running around outside every day like any other child. I'm concerned about not only odors, but I'm concerned about, as we've talked, coyotes, wolves, etc., smelling blood, etc., coming in. I'm concerned not only for her health and welfare, but for anybody else that's in the neighborhood. Not too far away is a trailer park with an awful lot of other kids too that are outside playing daily. It is definitely, in my eyes, too close to my property. Some of the others are a little further away and it isn't such a big deal. I'm for businesses. I have small businesses. But I think that as a slaughterhouse, this is the wrong place. It was Coloma Meat Products, and as that is a processing plant, I think that's fine. When we bought the place, we realized that might happen. But we did not realize that we were going to have a slaughterhouse next to us. And for all of our concerns and all of the concerns you have, and I can go on and on with everybody else, you've heard them all. But as an owner of the property, having my granddaughter there, not only that, but property values, everything else, I think that it's unfair to us as property owners to be opening it as a slaughterhouse or who knows what in the future. Thank you.
Thank you, Deb. Next to speak in opposition, Pat Gramley.
Good evening, my name is Pat Bramley. My husband and I own property right next to the, where the proposed, Coloma Meats is going to be.
Pardon me, Pat, would you move the mic down just a little bit so? Okay, yeah.
I have made up a little map here that I'd like to have you gentlemen look at, and lady. This shows you the homes that are in close proximity to where Coloma Meats is located. My problem is with the zoning change, it's not so much, I don't care if it was on commercial, but this intensive manufacturing really is, if for some reason Mr. Kosenik's business would fail, or if he succeeds and he has to add on, are they going to ask for a rezoning of that property? Or if it fails and someone else buys the property? You gentlemen know what intensive manufacturing consists of. You could have a foundry there, you could have a chemical plant. There's so many terrible businesses that could go in there with that zoning. I have a lot of concerns that I'm not going to get into because I think they were all in the letters, so you gentlemen don't need to repeat everything that was said. But there's so many inconsistencies on these meetings that we've been to. As far as how many people that were going to be employed, it was 10. Well, at one of the meetings, Mr. Kosenik said it was his wife, himself, and bringing 3 friends from Madison. So that leaves 5 people at the most. On his application, it was 8 to 10 people. The trucks were 5 to 15 people at the first meeting I went to. On the application, it was less than that, and they were going to be pickups with trailers. I mean, there's so many things. Everything was going to be built to the north of the property. I noticed on the map that he sent with his application, there's going to be a 96-foot dock with an overhang on it. That wasn't told to any of us. There's just so many things that just don't add up. He was like, we were told he would have a contract with Woodman's. Well, he doesn't have a contract with Woodman's. What if he doesn't get a contract? One of the owners, in fact, it was the Zilkes, they were told that the wastewater drain field was on their property. Well, our property and Zilke's property meet at the corner. I'm beginning to wonder, is that drain field partially on our property? There's so many things that I'm concerned about. My husband and I are completely against this, absolutely against it, and we hope that you will really consider and think about it and decide that this isn't for our neighborhood. There's 61 homes on that list. someplace else. Down in Dever, they're putting a slaughterhouse in on 30 acres for Andy's Deli. I went down there and I looked at it. They started that, they presented it to Marquette County in 2009. 2010, they still hadn't gotten permission from the DNR for their wastewater system. After they get permission for that, then it has to go to the Department of Commerce. This is 2013.
Pat?
We're getting
Pardon me,
close to
Pat,
the
you're
3
getting
minutes.
close to 3 minutes. Can you wrap it up real quick? Yeah.
This is 2013 and they're not done yet. So I don't know if everybody knows how long it's gonna take for this process to go through. Thank you very much, and I hope you would deny this.
Thank you, Pat. Next person registered in opposition, Glenn Gramley. Yeah, he is, Pat. He's here.
Hi, my name is Glenn Gramley, and I'm opposed to rezoning.
Up the bat,
I thought you were gonna hit me.
there's too many letters before, so.
I wasn't using that mic.
There you go.
Thank you. And I've heard stories all over Coloma about what's gonna happen out there, and, it's all a guess and by golly. First of all, 50 years ago, I was in the meat packing business. We sold beef from Iowa Beef Packers to places like the Coloma Packing House, and which in turn they sold to the public, cut up and wrapped and frozen. And basically, they were all over the country, those little packing places. Where I heard they're going to butcher, they used to butcher 30, 40 cattle out there. Well, they never did. And I mean, they could butcher would be 2 or 3 a day at the most. Then they would cut them up for the people who brought them in there, freeze them for their freezers at home. So this story about how many I've heard, everybody in Coloma, I think, said they worked out there at one time and they butchered all these cattle. Then I heard they butchered buffalo out there. Well, the last guy, he was in a buffalo business, but he never butchered a buffalo. They were all butchered in Ladysmith and shipped down here. So I don't care what they say about the smell. There's going to be a blood smell. I don't care what they do, especially when it comes from the north, the wind. So we're all going to be right in it then. And the water, they can say how much water they use. Them hoses are running all day long. They're never going to shut them off, and they're going to use a lot more water than they said. And second of all, we've had 2 meetings with them, and we haven't got the same story twice. Now today, this is the 3rd time I heard it's a different story on hiring people, so I think you better take a careful look at this whole situation. I appreciate your time. Thank you.
Thank you, Glenn. Next person registered in opposition, Kimberly Zilke.
I'm Kimberly Zilke. We live right next door to Coloma Meats. Our kitchen door is directly facing the office. To the northwest where the holdings pen is going to be, that would be the view from my kitchen window. As Debbie Zilke had stated, my daughter is outside summer, winter, spring, and fall. It scares me with the water, rodents, flies. I want you to know that we are very opposed to having this next to our house, not only for those reasons, but also for the property depreciation as well. Thank you.
Thank you, Kimberly. Next person registered in opposition, Matt Zilke.
My name is Matt Zilke. I guess my biggest complaint is going to be the flies, the rodents, the smell. They can all tell you what they want. Wednesday, I was at Monmouth, Illinois, which is Farmlands, one of Farmland's bigger plants. Your windows are up there. I pick up there every Wednesday we do. Also out in Kansas and in Wisconsin, Johnsonville, which we're talking people who have lots of money versus a small business starting. I've watched tankers leaking on the ground, the leftover blood. I've seen pigs laying in the back alley. And none of these you can roll down your window on a summertime and enjoy a cool breeze. Your truck is running or your APU. So I don't know where the stories are coming about how great this is going to be. Also, these are sick cows that are coming in. These ain't cows that are healthy. We're talking sick cows is what the last meeting was told. So 98% of all sick cows carry anthrax in the saliva, which is all gravel. This isn't in the back there, all on the sides is dirt. This isn't paved and running down into a gutter that's going to go into a holding tank. This is going in a property that is 45 feet from my well. I don't think this is a right decision at all. There's a lot of other places and so forth, and I'm for small businesses. So thanks for your time.
Thank you, Matt. Appear and speak for information only. Richard Schmidt.
My name is Richard Schmidt. I own property in Village of Coloma, 301 South Front Street, where I operate a business. Jesse's saying that there's going to be 5 to 15 trailers. He has no control over how many animals are on that trailer, and yet he says they're going to do a maximum of 30. What's going to happen to the extra animals? You know, by the end of the week, he got 50 extra animals that was held over. So then on the north of this property, there's 118 acres that could be developed into a residential area. If that was a slaughterhouse, that's never going to happen there. Yeah, Coloma Camperland, just down the road from here, where people are outside all the time, and with the odor, I don't feel as if this is a place for the slaughterhouse. Thank you.
Thank you, Dick. Appear and speak for information only. Maxine Gears.
Yes, my name is Maxine Gears. I live at 947 County Road CH. I'm 269 feet from the proposed slaughterhouse. I am totally against it because, like they said, he said he was going to be bringing a lot of down cattle. Well, down cattle cannot be used. Many diseases, and how they do slaughter the animals, they have to use probes, and those probes, they can only use one probe per cattle. So I don't know how he's going to get so many. And they have to be disinfected and cleaned each time. So he's going to have many probes because it takes a while to disinfect those probes. I know my property values are going to go down. Fred told me that, Fred Erickson, on May 11th. At the meeting we had with Jess and Roseanne the day at the Coloma Meets. And I am worried about the drinking water. And I'm totally against it.
Okay.
And I had all my stuff sent that
Yes, and that was all.
how many slaughterhouses there is in Wisconsin, which is there's not many. It's like Johnsonville, Abbeyland.
And that was all read into the record. So thank you, Maxine. Registered only in opposition, Carl Seefeld. Registered only in opposition but not speak, Richard Zilke. Registered in opposition but not speak, Carol Johnson. Registered in opposition but not speak, Dan and Karen Kynes. Registered only in opposition but not speak, Philip Paluchik, better known as Sonny. Paula Miramonte, registered only in opposition but not speak. Linda Paluchik, registered only in opposition but not speak. Carol Hughes, registered only in opposition but not speak. Jeannie Metror, registered only in opposition but not speak. Russ Brown, registered only in opposition but not speak. We'll let Bob get caught up here a little bit. That concludes all of the people that have registered. That concludes all the people that have registered. Staff comments, please.
Once again, for the record, the committee has previously been furnished with a copy of the site plan and the data that the applicant gave when they made the application. And luckily, everyone got their correspondence in, so they also got copies of all that and all of the pertinent data that was attached to that. So they looked at all of that prior to tonight. I'd like to take a little time to explain something about zone changes. This is a different application than our last one. This particular application is asking to change the underlying zone on the property from AG, General Agricultural, to MI, Intensive Manufacturing. And then it's to obtain a conditional use permit in the MI zone, much like the last one, to establish the slaughterhouse. So we need to think of it as two applications wrapped into one. The first is to change the zoning to MI, and that's a permanent change. Once the zoning gets changed, that becomes a permanent change if it makes it through all the steps. And the second is to establish a slaughterhouse in the MI zone with the conditional use permit. So we're looking at a combination application. Again, we would change the underlying zoning to MI, and then there's a conditional use permit to allow a slaughterhouse and its associated meat processing facility. A question came up as to what the zoning would be if there was not a slaughterhouse, and the appropriate zoning for purely meat processing is still MI. It's intensive manufacturing, and then there's a conditional use to establish the meat processing. So the underlying zone would be the same. The conditional use permit part would be different. The zone change process involves 3 steps. The first is here tonight. The applicant made their application. We hold the public hearing. The Planning and Zoning Committee considers all the testimony, all the facts, all the paperwork that's been submitted, and then they make a decision whether to recommend an approval to the county board or to deny the application. If they choose to recommend an approval, the application goes to the full county board. The full county board then, if they decide to approve the application, then it goes to the town board for a final review. The application must be approved at all 3 steps before the zone change is final and becomes effective. So remember that. It's a 3-step process. We're in the first one tonight when we hold the public hearing, and the Planning and Zoning considers later at the business meeting what they're going to recommend to the county board. So that's an explanation of the zone change portion of the application. Now I want to point out that a slaughterhouse is the conditional use part in the MI zone. And again, all zones in Waushara County have uses that are permitted outright, and then there are those that may be permitted within a particular zone, provided that they meet parameters and guidelines set up in the zoning code, and all applicable conditions can be met. Remember, that's a conditional use. And that's what a slaughterhouse is in the MI zone, and that's what a meat processing facility also would be. It's not a permitted use, but a conditional use. I think there's been some misconception about what is permitted in the MI zone, so I'm going to take the liberty of telling you everything that's permitted. It does include everything that's permitted in the general manufacturing zone. So the list is fairly long, but I will go through it. It's automotive, heavy repair and upholstery, cleaning, pressing, and dyeing establishments, commercial bakeries, commercial greenhouses, commercial recycling operations, distributors, farm machinery sales and service, food locker plants, laboratories, machine shops, manufacturing and bottling of non-alcoholic beverages, manufacture, fabrication, processing, packaging, and packing of confections, cosmetics, electrical appliances, electronic devices. Does include food processing except cabbage, fish, and meat products, pea vining, jewelry, instruments, pharmaceuticals, signs, tobacco, toiletries, furs, glass, leather, metals, paper, plaster, plastics, textiles, tobacco, and wood, printing or publishing, storage and sales of machinery and equipment, trade and contractors' offices, warehouses and wholesaling, offices, storage facilities, and power supplies associated with a permitted use, freight yards and depots, inside storage, and breweries. So again, that's a fairly exhaustive list, but that's what's permitted if this were to change to the intensive manufacturing zone. All those other things listed under conditional uses would have to go through another public hearing before they could be established in the intensive manufacturing zone. Keep in mind it's the landowner's responsibility, or the applicant's, they aren't the landowner yet, to provide the information that shows the committee this use is still in keeping with the zone and area it is proposed for, and that the conditions placed on it will ensure it will be a good neighbor to the surrounding landowners. When the committee visited the property, they noted that the property was previously used for processing of meat, but had not been used for slaughtering for quite some time. The property appears to have quite a bit of parking. The visibility on the road was quite good. There appears to be enough room for storage, and there are several residences nearby. As far as my comments go, I do think that the committee must look at this like it is a new placement of a slaughterhouse. It has not operated there in quite some time, and even though it was previously a slaughterhouse, it was many years ago and prior to current zoning regulations. So the committee needs to consider whether this is the proper place for such an operation, regardless of that history. We need to look at the zoning regulations as a whole and whether this is the place for an intensive manufacturing zoning classification as well. Are you comfortable with all of those permitted uses being there if you were to change the zoning? The building will need to meet state building codes as well as state food safety codes and have suitable safety equipment in place. Therefore, the public building inspector should be contacted and his recommendations followed. To have a better understanding of these types of operations, I did make contact with the local meat inspector for Waushara County. His name is Dave Schultz, and he works for DATCAP. And he explained that there are state inspectors for facilities that sell their product within the state. If any product will go across state lines, a federal license and inspection is necessary. The structure and all processing equipment and facilities need to meet certain standards as well as comply with state building codes. So there are standards for meat processing, for the equipment and the building, that are separate from the state building codes, and they both have to be met. DATCAP or USDA inspections are ongoing in order to retain licensing for the facility. Dave also told me all waste byproduct, including the bone, blood, skin, offal, all the things that aren't used must be containerized and are required to be refrigerated if they are kept for any length of time. This does mean that most plants have daily pickup by a rendering plant of these materials. The processing of this material by the rendering plants is also regulated and inspected by DATCAP. He did mention that most plants that he inspects locally do not slaughter every day, but rather group things together on a few days a week. I confirmed with Matt Jansen, the domestic wastewater specialist for the Department of Safety and Professional Services, that all restroom and employee break room wastewater could go into the existing septic system, but only provided it passes an evaluation and meets minimum state and county standards. So if you did consider an approval, that would have to be done as well. And then I talked to Dave Sturts of DNR, who is the toxic and industrial wastewater specialist for this region. He informed me that all wastewater from slaughter and processing areas must be strained and filtered, and that captures any remaining solids that are then directed to the rendering plant. The remainder of the wastewater needs to be tested to see how it could ultimately be disposed of. He said it is possible in some cases to land spread this wastewater, but quite often it is necessary to take it to a municipal treatment plant that can properly treat the wastewater. And he said, and sometimes if the wastewater is very concentrated, it is necessary to hold the wastewater on site and possibly have some sort of pre-treatment system in place before it can be hauled to a wastewater treatment plant. It all depends on the facility and the wastewater strength that comes out of it. DNR is in charge of the testing and approval of all treatment and disposal methods of this type of wastewater. And that's it for my comments.
Does the applicant have any rebuttal that they would like to say? Please come forward, please.
I just want to address The acreage that I said I owned, I told them I rent 500 acres. I own 40 acres. That is truthfully true. My meat contracts, I can't sign contracts if I don't have a business to sign the contracts with. Tom Bates made my contacts with these people, so he's the guy that had the contacts with all of these people before. So they wouldn't know my name because he's the one that contacted them. So sick and down cows, we do not take them. We don't want them. That's what Red Granite's for, the mink farm. They can have them bad cows. We don't want them. We want cows that walk in. If they don't walk, they go to Red Granite. And then extra trucks, and he says we're going to have extra cows. Well, we can't hold cows, cannot be held for more than 12 hours in a slaughterhouse. What comes in must leave. The rule in a slaughterhouse is nothing leaves alive. You know what I'm getting at? They don't come out of that building. When they go in, they're done. And my manure. I have 500 acres I rent. I have a straight truck with a slinger on it. My plan was to clean the barns, put the manure on my land at home. I have a manure nutrient plan with FSA and Montello. I can present you a manure plan and show where all that manure is going to go. And that's about all I wanted to address.
Okay. All right, thank you.
Yep.
Okay, the next application that we will hear tonight, Jason Pinal, Watoma, Wisconsin. Steve and Kathleen Pinal and Wade and Tammy Pinal, landowners, have made application for a zone change in accordance with sections 58-131 through 138 and 58-724, paragraph 5 of the Waushara County Zoning Code from an RS-20 residential single family to an AG general agricultural to a conditional establish a home-based auto repair business utilizing an existing 40 by 100 foot storage building. Location, an approximate 17.891 acre parcel of land known as Lot 1 of Certified Survey Map number 4375, being part of the north half of the southeast quarter, which is the subject of the requested to be conditionally established, the home-based business at W8585 Brown Deer Drive, and a parcel being approximately 15.45 acres known as Lot 1 of Certified Survey Map number 6204, being part of the northeast quarter of the southeast quarter, Section 28, Town 19 North, Range 10 East, Town of Watoma. I don't have to ask for the applicant to come forward because he has done that. Will you state your name for the record, please?
I'm Jason Pennell.
Can you tell us a little bit what you're planning on doing out there, Jason?
We're going to do general auto repair. I plan on employing one full-time employee. Basically, I have no need for advertisements, so there won't be any signs by the road or anything like that. The property is completely hidden from both roadways, so there won't be any unsightly, cars laying around. There won't be that anyway. We keep it very neat and clean around there. I guess that's what I'm planning on doing. So.
Okay. All right, Jason, the committee has a few questions for you. Committee questions, please?
Okay, hi, Jason.
Hi.
Has there been a recent survey?
I believe so. My brother had just purchased the property, the rest of the land to the highway, and so I'm sure that was just recently done.
So you're aware of the lot, where the lot lines are?
Yes.
Okay. Will there be any employees outside the immediate family?
No.
What sort of traffic will there be, and what sort of parking will you need?
The traffic is usually on a daily in and out basis. Otherwise, we only would require, there may be 3 to 5 cars that would be waiting a day or two for parts or to be coming or be dropped off early.
Are you aware of the state building codes and other state requirements, and will they be met?
Yes, yes.
Will you need to do any filling or grading?
No, that's all done.
What sort of sanitary facilities are planned at your site?
We have a public restroom and a septic.
Are there any sanitary facilities in the detached garage now, and if so, where will these wastes drain?
Oh, they drain into a septic tank.
Do you happen to know when the system was installed and by whom?
I believe it was installed approximately 12 or 13 years ago, and I think Bob Lear did it. We contacted him yesterday, because did you guys find the septic inspection or whatever it was?
No, we didn't, and as a matter of fact, Bob said he had no record of installing that
Well,
system.
he don't. Okay, because he didn't call my dad back then.
Okay.
So we'll have to dig
Said
into
he was
that.
going to when I talked to him, so.
Okay.
Are there any floor drains in the building, and if so, where will these wastes drain?
Those drains were designed just basically for fresh water and snow melt off. But if necessary, we will install a certified catch basin. I've owned a shop before. I know what has to be done and what has to be met for the waste and stuff. But mainly or always, we collect all the antifreeze, all the oil. We burn the oil, recycle the antifreeze. So there's really shouldn't be an issue with waste.
So there are floor drains, and so the question of whether there are if you're planning on adding any, that's irrelevant, right? They are there.
Yes, they are.
Is an advertising sign planned?
No.
Are there any other additions or buildings planned?
No.
Exactly what sort of repair work will you do?
I do auto repair, just no body work, but just anything besides body work. We don't do any of that.
Do you do any air conditioning?
Not this year.
And you say no body work. Do you do painting at all?
None.
How do you dispose of waste oils?
We burn it. We have a waste oil furnace.
Will you have waste tires? And if so, where will they be stored and ultimately disposed of?
We would get rid of them probably every month, and there's several companies that come and buy them, or we sell to them. Yeah.
Would there be any outside storage of parts or supplies?
No, not away from the building. The building has an attached lean-to, which is on the back side, which is not visible from anywhere.
Where do you store the vehicles waiting to be serviced?
The ones that are in current service during the week will be in front of the shop, but behind the tree line, and then the ones that are waiting longer or that I might own are up in back of the shop, out of visibility from customers.
Will there be any salvage or scrapping of vehicles?
No, that's all done. We got rid of everything that was on the property that wasn't running.
Will there be any car or other vehicle sales?
No.
Would you need a separate address number for the business if this application is approved?
No.
Are there any changes planned to the driveway?
Nope.
And finally, if an approval is granted, when would the improvements be completed and when would you start operation?
Directly.
Okay,
right away.
Okay, any other questions? Joe?
You said that you wouldn't need a separate address number. Is that the only building on the property?
No, my father's house is.
I think we should have two numbers.
Yes,
Oh, you okay? Well, okay, that's fine. As far as a fire number, you mean, or
Yes,
okay?
yes.
Yeah.
Any other committee questions besides that? Okay, thank you, Jason.
Thank you.
Correspondence, please.
We have one letter that was received August 12th. It's addressed to me. Dear Terry, during our August board meeting, we did discuss a request by Jason Pinau. Jason discussed his plans for a repair shop. With the information presented, the town board has no opposition to this request, and that's signed, thank you, Jeffrey L. Nett, town chair.
Okay.
No one registered?
No one registered in favor or opposition. Staff comments, please.
Again, the committee's viewed everything that was submitted. I'd like to explain about this zone change a little bit. There was a zone change application several years back to change this whole area to RS20, and there was going to be some subdivision development. It didn't take off quite as well as they had hoped, so now there's two larger parcels that the owners, Jason's father and his brother Wade, want to change back to agricultural. That is part of this. So again, we're looking at changing the zoning back to agricultural. They are larger parcels, would allow them to have a horse or a couple chickens if they so desired, and doesn't restrict them in the residential zone. And then we're looking at the conditional use again to establish the home occupation, which is one of the things that's listed in the general ag zone. So that's what we're looking at here. Remember, it's landowner's responsibility to provide us with that information and show you that he's going to stay in keeping with the zone and area it's proposed for. When the board visited the property, they noted that the business and vehicles waiting to be serviced were not visible from the town road, and that the operation was currently very clean and orderly. My comments are a little bit more technical in nature. The building will need to meet state building codes and have suitable safety equipment to operate such an operation, so the public building inspector should be contacted, and his recommendations followed to change the use of that structure from private to commercial. There are requirements for floor drains and wastewater containment that will need to be followed also, and DNR is the one that handles those regulations. We can certainly give the landowner and/or usually they have a plumber look at those and try to get those permits in place. And then finally, we were unable to find documentation that the septic system serving the pole building was properly permitted and inspected at the time of installation. So we will need to address this issue. I think if we did get a complete evaluation from a plumber, including a soil boring and, you know, some documentation of size and whether it's suitable, I think we could probably go that route at this time. So that's it for my comments.
Is there anything that the applicant would like to add? All right, that concludes our applications for the planning and zoning. We will conduct our business meeting in room 266, which is just outside the door to your right, and the variance will meet here next.
This goes in Bob's book. So anyone that wants to hear any of the deliberations of the Planning and Zoning Committee can try to squeeze into that room or stand outside and listen to that. The Board of Adjustments will now hold their public hearing for the variances on the agenda tonight.
What's that? What's that? Yep. Call this meeting with Washera County Board of Adjustments to order. This meeting will be conducted in the same manner as the applications heard by the Planning and Zoning Committee. Please remember to keep your comments brief and relative to the matter at hand. The same time limits will apply to the testimony, which is 5 minutes for the applicant, outside of any committee questions, and 3 minutes for other testimony, including any rebuttal by the applicant. Anyone other than the applicant or representative wishing to speak at this hearing must have registered. Anyone who has not should do so immediately and submit the registration slip to the zoning administrator. The committee has looked at all the properties, and the record will reflect these observations. Following the public hearing, the board will conduct its monthly business meeting, at which time we will vote on the applications. You may stay and hear how the applications are decided, or you may leave following the public hearing. Any person affected by an administrative decision of this board has 10 days from the filing of tonight's decision to file an appeal. Such appeals are heard by the Washera County Circuit Court. Information on appeals is available from the Clerk of Court's office and qualified legal counsel.
The county assumes no liability and makes no warranty as to the legality of any construction commenced prior to the expiration of this 30-day period. Now introduce the rest of the committee. To my left are Larry Tim, Kevin Fitzgerald, John Benz, and George Wilson. My name is Roger Wagner. First variance to be considered tonight, Daniel and Patricia Greidel, Appleton, Wisconsin, and made an application for variance in accordance with section 58-542, paragraph C, paragraph 2, and 58-823, paragraph C, paragraph 2 of the Waushara County Zoning Code to construct a 27-foot by 48-foot one-story single-family dwelling on a slab with a 15 by 24 attached deck, existing dwelling, screen house, and shed to be removed, coming within 8 feet of the northwesterly and 14 feet of the southeasterly side lot lines, 15-foot setback required on an existing non-conforming lot, non-conforming due to lot width in the RS-20 residential single-family zone within the shoreline area. Location: a parcel of land known as Lot 13 of Pearl Lake Plat, being part of Government Lot 4 and part of the northeast one quarter, the southeast one quarter, Section 30, Town of Leon, Pearl Lake, N3025, County Road EE. Is the applicant present? To come forward, please. And state your name for the record.
Daniel E. Greedle.
Okay. Anything else to add at this time, Dan?
We plan to raise and rebuild. We're asking for a side lot setback variance. It's a 50-foot wide lot, so it would be difficult to stay inside the 15-foot side lot setback.
Okay. Just a few general questions then for the record. Has there been a recent survey, and are you sure of the lot lines?
Yes.
Have you talked to the neighbors in the township about this?
Yes.
You said it'll be going on a slab?
Yes.
Okay, no basement. Okay. How far above existing grade will the first floor elevation be, and how much filling or grading will be done?
The lot slopes from east to west. We were planning on being about a foot above grade on the west end of the house. That means we would probably have to grade down about 2 feet the lot in order to make a level lot.
Okay. And approximately what will the finished height of the home be?
20 feet.
Okay. Single
It's a
story.
Single story.
Can you describe what you're planning to do with the extra fill from the proposed excavation of the home?
I have another lot about a mile away, and I plan to take it there.
How will you deal with erosion and stormwater runoff during construction?
I'm going to be dealing with a contractor, and we've already talked to the erosion control. There'll be a silt dam, and I'm counting on the contractor to know exactly what needs to be done.
Okay. And what do you plan on doing with the decking and the small sheds by the water?
I would like to take the 2 sheds off and replace it with one. I don't really want to remove the deck because I would have to put something down as a foundation to put the shed or the boathouse on anyway. So I'd rather not take that down.
Any other improvements planned at this time?
There'll be a garage associated with it.
All other setbacks will be met?
Yes.
And you're planning on a new septic system, is that correct? Okay. You described the hardships and unique property limitations as being the narrow lot? Yes. Okay. And if an approval were granted, when would you start construction?
We were planning on raising yet this year, and probably by mid-spring that we would be building.
Any other committee questions?
I actually have one. When you were in the office, you had said that you were going to try to take the fill and do a retaining wall in a flat
But-
area?
and it won't all fit in there.
Okay. Can you explain a little bit about that, though, too? Because I've always been kind of confused about that. So if you could explain that to the committee.
The lot has a severe slope about midway or a third of the way through the entire lot. There's a severe slope, so I was thinking of putting a retaining wall and using some of the fill from taking the lot down to a level to fill in, to be a concrete retaining wall, and then use some of that fill to fill that. And if there was any excess fill from excavation, I would take it off.
How close would that take you to the lot line?
5 feet.
How high would that be? To the ground level where the deck is now, or?
No, not to the deck level, but to the grade.
You weren't planning a patio or anything there, just a level grassy spot?
Right, I
other
just
than the
wanted
retaining
to extend that living,
You were going to keep the existing stairs, too, right?
yes, yes. Right, so it would be between the stairs and the south lot line.
You have two boat sheds at, two boat sheds or two sheds at the lake level now. And you said if you had to take them down, you'd like to put one up. How big a one are you talking about putting up?
I don't know exactly how big that platform is right now. I believe the limit is 180 square feet. I'd probably do maybe 10 by 10 or 10 by 12. I think that would fit pretty close to be on that existing platform.
Jerry, would that need another application then for that boathouse? If he was to remove these and then in the future build another one?
Well, he would need to make an application for a boathouse permit and comply with the regulations. So there are setbacks.
Later date.
Yep, and there are other restrictions as far as being in the viewing and access corridor. So I'm not sure the whole decking can remain because, you might be able to keep enough to support the new boathouse and an allowed walkway, but we'd have to kind of figure out how all that works.
The boathouse was not part of this.
Right.
They're old and I'd like to replace it, but it wasn't really making it part of this.
Anything else? Okay, thank you. Correspondence?
We did. I know I don't speak very loud. We did receive an email yesterday, August 21st, from DNR, Michael Wenholtz, and it's addressed to me. Terry, I'm writing to provide comments regarding the Greidel Luthane Revocable Trust, Siebert and Hanson Joint Revocable Trust variance requests that are to be heard before the Waushara County Board of Adjustments on August 22nd. Thank you for providing me with application materials and for discussing these sites with me. I am providing these comments in place of making an appearance in person. Please have them delivered to and/or read before the Board of Adjustments. Then regarding the Greidel request, if the BOA finds the applicant has demonstrated meeting all 3 criteria required for granting a variance, the department recommends the variance include conditions requiring the removal of the sheds near the shoreline and install and maintain a full vegetative buffer as per section 58-903, parens N, parens 1, parens 3A, and parens 5 of the Waushara County Zoning Code. This would be appropriate given the increase of impervious surface within the shoreline zone. Please note that these comments are in regard to shoreline zoning only and do not reflect applicable erosion control, waterway permitting, or other departmental regulations. And it concludes, thank you for the opportunity to provide comments regarding the Greidel Luthane Revocable Trust, Siebert and Hanson Joint Revocable Trust variance request. Please contact me if you have any questions regarding this email. And again, that's signed Michael Wenholtz, Wenholz of the DNR. And that's it. No one registered to speak.
Staff comments?
For the record, the board has previously been furnished with a copy of the site plan and all the data that was submitted for this application and all the other ones that they're going to hear tonight. They also visited all of the properties and viewed the proposals and their location on site. So this time, I'm going to take a little time to explain a little bit about variances. Variances ask for a relaxation of a dimensional standard in the code. The decision to grant a variance must be backed by substantive reasons, which include an unnecessary hardship as being caused by the code requirement. There are unique limitations on the property that prevent the landowner from meeting the required dimensional standards in the code. And if the variance is granted, no harm will be done to the public interest or the zoning code. It is the applicant's responsibility to present the case and provide the burden of proof as to why the variance should be granted. The personal situation of the applicant, financial hardship, or nearby violations cannot be considered as valid reasons to grant a variance. When the board visited the property, they noted that all the structures on the property are proposed to be removed. There are 2 old boathouses and some decking down along the shoreline, and that when those are removed, revegetation of the area would be recommended. And as far as my comments go, I think this application is fairly straightforward. The landowner is proposing to remove all structures and starting with a blank slate. The lot was created many years ago and is only 50 feet wide, and I think the applicant has done what they can to meet all applicable standards other than the side lot setback, which would have necessitated a 20-foot wide or less home, and that probably is unreasonable. That's it.
Okay, the next variance to be considered, George and Susan Luthane, Revocable Trust, Summerfield, Florida, has made an application for a variance in accordance with section 58-826, paragraph B of the Waushara County Zoning Code to construct a 38 by 50 irregularly shaped single-family dwelling on a basement with a 24 by 30 L-shaped deck coming to within 50 feet of the center line of Buttercup Avenue, 63-foot setback required, existing single-family dwelling and detached garage to be raised in the RS-20 residential single-family zone within the shoreline area. Location of parcel of land being part of Government Lot 1, being part of the southwest 1/4, Section 28, Town of Mount Morris, Johns Lake, WS 6461 Buttercup Avenue. And you are ready.
I'm ready. My name is George Lathane.
Okay.
And basically, we purchased some property on Buttercup Avenue on Johns Lake, and upon analyzing things a little closer, we found a mound of dirt in the back, and when we met there with Rick Ertl from zoning and our builder, we decided we should have that checked out just to be sure. So Rick called the state, and we had a representative from the Archaeology Department of the State Historical Society come out, and it was determined that it was an Indian burial ground. And because of that, we cannot disturb that mound or come within 5 feet of that mound. We were originally planning on raising our house because it's not structurally sound, and we were going to build a new home on the basically the same footprint, but with that we were able to meet the 63-foot setback from the center of Buttercup Avenue. Because of the mound being there, we're not able to have the 63-foot setback. So the reason we're asking for the variance is that now the home will have a 50-foot setback, and so that's the reason for the variance.
Okay, just a few general questions for the record then. Has there been a recent survey?
Yes, it was surveyed just within the last month by Crier Land Survey.
And you're sure the lot lines and the ordinary high water mark?
Yes, all 4 of the stakes are in place and they're still there.
Will you have enough room for parking and turnarounds so you won't be backing out onto the road?
No, we have always had to back out onto the road. So as far as I know, we will still continue to do that.
Okay. And how will you deal with stormwater runoff?
Dave Sherwald is the contractor who's going to be building the home, and so that will be his problem with dealing with that so that everything is held in place properly.
Actually, stormwater runoff could become your problem if it's gutters and downspouts and you have pine trees. So you may want to discuss that with them, how you want to handle runoff after construction. That's kind of what the question is.
Okay, all right,
Just so you understand.
all right, thank you.
And how will you protect the mound on the property both during and after construction?
Well, I've spoken just this week with the representative from the archaeology department, and she is coming out to, I think when you folks were there, there are some blue flags showing that the 5-foot setback. She's going to place something more permanent there so that when they raise the house, they will know that they do have to cannot get closer than the 5-foot.
And what type of foundation will the home be on?
It's going to have a crawl space of approximately 3.5 to 4 feet.
And how far above existing grade will the first floor be?
Actually, I don't think that it will be above the existing grade. If not, it will be real close. We're not really planning on any major changes that way.
And finished height will be approximate?
Well, we're going to have a loft on the second floor, so I'm thinking it's going to be in the neighborhood of 16 feet, something like that, 2 stories, 16 to 18 feet.
Okay. Any other improvements planned at this time?
No.
Okay. The detached garage will meet all setbacks, is that correct?
Yes.
And the new home will meet all other prescribed setbacks?
Yes.
What about the septic system?
We currently have a holding tank on the system, but we are talking with our neighbors about getting an off-lot easement from them across Buttercup Avenue so that we are able to have a septic system on their property across on the other side of Buttercup Avenue. We'd prefer to get a septic system if we could rather than the holding tank.
The hardship and unique property limitations are the burial ground. Did you know that was there when you bought the property?
Well, we suspected it, but we weren't positive of that until somebody came out. But we loved the property so well that was not a factor in determining whether or not we were going to buy it.
Are there any other non-conforming structures on the property?
No.
Have you thought about revegetating the shoreline?
We do not mow up to the shoreline, and there is all kinds of vegetation. It's a 100-foot lot, and there is probably the natural vegetation on almost all of that 100 foot.
Okay. And if an approval were granted, when would you start the construction?
We are planning on, if approval is granted, we'd be raising the house on September 23rd, and construction would start this fall for us to be able to occupy it on approximately May 1st of 2014.
Okay. Any other committee questions?
Have you ever considered putting some kind of a turnaround in so you don't have to back out on the road?
You know, I really haven't considered that. I would like to be able to do that, but that's a good point. We may be able to accomplish that, but I'm not sure. I would really prefer to be able to do that, quite honestly.
For part of the runoff off the roof, have you considered maybe rain gardens for the water to go into?
I am not familiar with rain gardens. We certainly could consider that, but I am not familiar with them myself.
We have information in the Land Conservation Office, and so we can give you some on that and some other methods of stormwater management.
Great.
Anything else? Okay.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Correspondence?
Again, we did receive that email from DNR, and regarding the Luthane Revocable Trust request, it says the department has no comment regarding this request. Please note that these comments are in regard to shoreline zoning only and do not reflect applicable erosion control, waterway permitting, or other department regulations. So one of these days I might ask him to not even comment if he has no comment, but that was it.
No one registered. Staff comments?
Again, the committee looked at all the data, went out and visited the site. When they were out there, they noted there is a definite Indian mound on the property. The new construction will closely match the existing cottage, except that it will now meet the side lot line setback, and it actually will be 1 foot further from the road than the existing cottage. And I really don't have any comments. I think it's pretty straightforward, and I think the applicants have done a good job of meeting the zoning code as well as the State Historical Society requirements for the burial mound.
Okay, next variance to be considered, Scott and Jill Seibert, New London, Wisconsin, made an application for variance after the fact in accordance with section 58-235, paragraph A, paragraph 4 and 5, and 58-823, paragraph C, and paragraph 2 of Waushara County Zoning Code to structurally repair and replace rafters, floor joists, load-bearing walls, and add headers to all windows and doorways exceeding the maintenance and repair allowed of an existing non-conforming single-family dwelling, non-conforming due to water and wetland setback, and not meeting dwelling minimum square footage on a non-conforming lot, non-conforming due to width and square footage in RS20 residential single-family zone within the shoreline area. Location, a parcel of land being part of Government Lot 5, also known as the south one half of Lot 1, Block 2, of an unrecorded addition to Chase's Springwater subdivision plat and part of the northeast 1/4, the northeast 1/4, Section 34, Town of Springwater, Kuza Lake, W5793, Archer Lane. Is the applicant present? You state your name for the record, please.
Scott Siebert.
Anything to add at this time, Scott?
Yeah, I just want to apologize for the after effect of the asking for the variance. At the time we were doing this, we truly felt we were doing basically maintenance work with the shingles and siding and stuff. And someone actually said, you know, you really should apply for a variance to comply, and that's what we're doing. This is the first time I'm involved with something like this, a variance, so I'm learning a lot as we go here. So.
Okay. Just a few general questions then. Has there been a recent survey out there?
It was when we bought the property 2 years ago, the seller had it surveyed.
Okay. And you're sure of all lot lines and the ordinary high water mark and the adjacent wetlands? Okay. What is your location or elevation in the floodplain? Are you out of the floodplain or?
To be honest with you, I don't know that. I never was really told that we're in the floodplain. I mean, when we bought the property 2 years ago, that was not noted to us.
Okay. Did you buy this privately or through a realtor or?
It was through a realtor.
Okay.
We didn't, obviously the seller had the realtor, and we just worked through that.
Okay. Do you have any, did you do any filling or grading or foundation work there or?
No foundation work, but we had a holding tank put in last year, which that was inspected and, you know, okayed and everything. So there was some disturbance because of that.
Okay.
Is that why it was eroding? Did it settle in that area? There was kind of a...
Well, actually, I was, because it was so high there, I let my neighbor take some dirt.
Okay, because that should probably be smoothed out.
Oh, it will be,
Okay.
definitely. We want to get that leveled off. I wanted it to settle first, but that's on our thing to do.
Any, did you do roof repairs also?
I had new shingles put on and siding.
Okay. And what type of foundation is the home on now?
It's actually on a footing with like a cinder block. It's original from when we bought it. We didn't change anything with that. It's all existing.
Did you make any additions to the home?
Still on the same footprint. We didn't do anything like that.
The portion where the, I don't know, it appears as though the well or something towards the road there where that was always on there?
Yes, yeah. It was rotted. That's why we had a lot of water damage because the roof was bad.
So that low portion was always there because it didn't show up on the map. on
When
the
we,
prior
uh,
survey.
When we bought the property, it shows that little addition thing's on there. When we bought the property, it shows that little lean-to area.
You have photos or something?
Pardon?
You have photos or something?
I don't, well, she does, but not with us, I'm
Okay.
afraid, yeah.
The decking appears to be new all around the home, is that correct?
Yes, that's actually, I was told that it's a floating sidewalk because there's two doors. I was told from the zoning committee before we bought the house that we could legally put a sidewalk on there to tie the two doors together, but not a deck, no handrail, anything like that.
Okay.
And it's not attached to the structure, it's just floating there.
You go around the house, past the doors there to the side, though,
There's a
don't you?
door on the lake side and a service door, and I was told I have a right to tie those two doors together with a sidewalk.
Don't you go beyond that towards the wetland?
To the little ditch area? Yes, there is some decking, or sidewalk there too, yes.
Okay. Do you plan on doing any other changes to the home structurally or cosmetically?
Not right now to the house. Down the road, we're thinking with the correct permission, maybe a garage, which I would want to get the zoning department out there to make sure I get the right setbacks, but nothing at this time with that.
So you're basically done.
There's always something you're going to want to do, but nothing major at all.
Okay. So, a garage is in the future or whatever,
I'd like to have a garage, but I'm got to talk someone else into that one.
all other setbacks have been met?
Yes.
Okay. You said the septic is a holding tank, is that correct? Did you ever consider any options, such as a tear down or rebuilding, or how did it all involve to?
I really didn't want to tear it down because I thought it was could save it. Had some rotted wood, some mold, stuff like that we just decided to fix. But I really didn't want to tear it down and start all over. I figured we could put the siding and a roof on, which we knew was bad. So.
What is the hardship or unique property limitations that would support the variance?
We are a lot restricted in many different ways, close to the water, wetlands. It's a narrow lot on the lakeside.
Have you thought about revegetating the shoreline or along the drainage ditch where it appears to be starting to erode?
I haven't thought about it, but if something needs to be done, I definitely would do it.
Any other committee questions?
How much money were all the repairs?
I'm thinking probably about 15,000 total.
You do the work or a contractor do
I
the work?
started it and ran out of time due to family issues, so I had someone else help me out and finish it.
Contractor say anything about that you had to obtain permits?
No, I did ask about roofing, putting shingles on and siding, and I was told you didn't need a permit for that. So that's what I was told.
Okay.
I'm not sure. Does it change in areas of municipalities? I don't know, but
You keep referring to siding and shingles, but that is exterior without permits, but you also did a lot inside, didn't you, with rafters, floor joists?
what we replaced was the stuff that because of the
repair
roof.
load-bearing walls,
What we replaced was
headers
rot.
and windows and doorways?
I had to replace some windows, and to make it legal, we had to put a header over it because they didn't even have headers back
Sure.
then. But a lot of those windows were rotted too. The ceiling or the roof
Sure.
was really bad shape, so
Sure.
we had a lot of rot. We had the mold, which was bad actually with the rot. We had ants, so I had to get rid of all that and bring it back up and did it right. We did it to code, whatever there was done there to get rid of those bad pieces. I mean the sidewalk? That part? I was just going by what I was told, no wider than 5 feet from when we bought the house. He said you can't do it any wider than 5 feet or what's already on an existing footprint. And on the lakeside, there was actually concrete that's still there. We didn't remove any of that. And he just went over the top of the concrete. So there's a slab there on the lakeside, and we just set it right on top of it. We didn't disturb the soil or anything like that.
You said you were told 5 feet, but that side on the north
Or,
is 6 feet.
well, for the newer part of it, what I was told we could keep what the existing footprint was, where that concrete was, or is.
On
which
the
is
north side, is there concrete under that?
on the lakeside, there's
No.
a patio there,
I guess it would be the west side then.
where that's a new section. There was actually a piece of wood there, but it was junk. But I
'Cause
was
it's
told no,
it's 6 feet, and you said you were told you could have 5 feet.
5 feet on that side, and it's 6 feet on the lakeside, because that side is actually,
But it's
concrete.
6 feet though, we measured it.
Is that with the step?
It's 6 feet. No, without the step.
Without the step.
I just figured, I didn't build it.
No, somebody told you one thing and you,
Yeah.
Who
Is
told
it really 5 feet, or is it?
it's 6 feet,
No, for a sidewalk.
5 feet.
Okay.
Who told you all this?
2 years ago, when we had, were looking at the property, I wanted to do things right, you know, first time ever having a lakefront property, so it was, I'm afraid I don't remember the gentleman's name, but I called him out. If it helps, he had a hearing aid. I don't know his name, I'm sorry, but I asked him some questions, like the garage, when he mentioned, you gotta be 65 feet off the road at that time. I want to make sure that I was doing things correctly. And at that time, I had a bunch of questions, and he just mentioned,
Was that somebody from zoning or a friend?
yeah, it wasn't the building inspector, which is John Siebert, I believe.
All right.
I think you got some bad information, but,
Great.
okay, any other questions? Okay, thank you. Anyone registered? Correspondence?
Yes, we have the email from DNR, and regarding the Siebert request, the department understands the principal structure lies well within the required 75-foot ordinary high watermark setback, which is section 58-826, parent C of the Washera County zoning code, including well within the absolute minimum setback of 35 feet from the ordinary high watermark, which is section 58-235, parents B, parents 1 of the Washera County zoning code. The structure sits approximately 19 feet from the ordinary high watermark. The applicant made repairs without permit to the existing nonconforming principal structure, including structural repairs not allowed under the definition of maintenance and repair, section 58-9. Thus, this is an after-the-fact request. The applicant built without permits a new deck waterward of the existing principal structure and a pump house on the landward side of the existing principal structure. The existing nonconforming principal structure may be within a floodplain. First, no portion of the shoreline zoning sections of the Washera County zoning code allows the construction of new structures within 35 feet of the ordinary high water mark. Thus, the department strongly recommends the newly built deck be removed and the disturbed land be returned to a vegetated state to prevent erosion. Should be assured the nonconforming principal structure is not within a floodplain, and if it is, that appropriate measures are taken to comply with floodplain zoning regulations. Please contact the department floodplain engineer, Joe Balin, for assistance with this issue. If the Board of Adjustments finds the applicant has demonstrated meeting all 3 criteria required for granting a variance, the department recommends the following be required as conditions. Install and maintain a full vegetative buffer as per section 58-903, parents N1 and parents 3A and parents 5 of the Washera County zoning code, except that the department recommends a vegetative buffer depth of 1/2 the distance from the existing nonconforming principal structure and the ordinary high water mark, or 9.5 feet, based on the stated lot width near the water of 41 feet in the application. The buffer width should be 28.7 feet with an allowed viewing and access corridor of 12.3 feet. Remove the newly built deck as mentioned above, and consider removal of the newly constructed pump house if deemed appropriate. Please note that these comments are in regard to shoreline zoning only and do not reflect applicable erosion control, waterway permitting, or other department regulations. And that's from Michael Wenholtz, DNR.
The applicant have anything in rebuttal?
You should probably let me talk first.
Oh, okay, sorry. Do your thing.
Because he might want to rebut me, too.
I'll do something.
I know you do. Remember, we're looking at a relaxation of the dimensional standards in our code. Our zoning code allows only general maintenance and repair to structures that are this close to the water. That does not include structural repairs due to negligence or general deterioration, which is what it appears happened in this case. I do know that there was an on-site by Rick, and I can see some of the things, and it was discussed that it might be time to tear it down and rebuild. But that's not what the landowner chose to do, so now we're in this situation. When the board visited the property, they noted that the lot lines were not clearly marked. The well house addition may be new. It was not shown on the map that we had in our packet. All the decking appeared to be new, and there was not documentation that there was anything that it was replacing. And the decking on the lakeside is wider than the 5 feet allowed for access by code. The elevation of the floodplain is not known, and there is a non-conforming metal shed on the roadside. As far as my comments go, you know, this is really close to the line for me again. We had that contact before they purchased the property, and the staff noted that it might be time to relocate the cottage or build a new one in a more compliant location. So I'm afraid proceeding without a permit is not an acceptable excuse to me, but you never know how people understand what they're being told either. So, and in addition, it appears that construction exceeded structural repairs to the existing structure and includes those additions, and we don't have any permits on file. On the other hand, it should be noted that there is not a code-compliant location for a new cottage anywhere on this lot. And if a new cottage were to be constructed, it would need to be larger to meet the code requirements. We do have a 720 square foot minimum, and I believe this one is slightly larger than 400 square feet. So that could result in more impervious surfaces. So, you know, I understand part of it, and we certainly do have an upgraded septic system here, so that's a plus. One of the things about the fill over the tank is that probably was placed there to counteract buoyancy. When the tank is pumped, sometimes if the water level's high, it can pop out of the ground. So you should probably put some of that back. It might have been high for a reason. It certainly appears to me that there are a lot of unanswered questions here. When were the decks built? What was there before? Why don't they meet code requirements? When was the well house built? Because it doesn't show up on our older surveys that we have on file. What is the floodplain elevation? And does this structure meet the requirements for floodplain construction? I think there's enough questions that we should answer those before the board considers making a final decision on the variance. So that would be my recommendation.
Anything in rebuttal? Come on up.
The dirt wasn't there, just, I understand what you're saying, because I've heard about that happening. He actually has what they call saddles or extra poundage weights on there, so that dirt wasn't the only thing holding it down. He has those weights on there because this guy's done this before, and he said he knew what to do about that, so.
Okay.
Good.
That's good.
Thank you. Next variance to be considered, Raymond and Sharon Hanson, Joint Revocable Trust, Brookfield, Wisconsin, made an application for a variance in accordance with section 58-235, paragraph A and 5 of the Washare County Zoning Code to construct a 30 by 30 two-story addition on a basement with a 26 by 30 one-story attached garage onto an existing one-story non-conforming single-family dwelling, non-conforming due to side lot setback exceeding 25% of additions and structural repairs allowed to an existing non-conforming dwelling in the RS-20 residential family, single-family, and a AG general agricultural zone within the shoreland area. Location, a proposed parcel of land being lot number 27 of Shanahan Resort subdivision plus 35 feet of the parcel to the northeast, including right-of-way and 1/15th interest in Shanahan Lane. all being part of government lot number 4 and part of the northwest 1/4, the northeast 1/4, section 29, town of Mount Morris, Porters Lake, N 2399 Shannon Lane. Is the applicant present?
My name is Raymond Hanson, and if I may, sir, my fire number is N3299. I think you may have said 23 if I'm...
3299 is what's down here,
Oh,
correct?
okay. And first of all, I'd like to thank the commissioners for hearing my request for my building plan here. What I plan to do, with your approval, I'm turning 63 in October, and I plan to retire a year from October. And I've been coming to Waushara County and Porters Lake my entire life, and I'm fortunate that my entire family is within 7 structures of my property. So if I'm going to retire in Wisconsin, Porters Lake is the only place that I could consider doing that. So that was just my little statement, and if I'm willing to answer any questions that the commissioners may have of my request.
Okay. General questions for the record. Has there been a recent survey, and are you sure of the lot lines?
Yes, sir. It was about a month ago.
Okay. Can you explain about buying additional land from the neighbor and what all happened?
Sure. The original parcel was platted in about 1929, and that was 50 feet wide by 190 feet deep. About 10 years ago, the prior owner acquired 25 feet additional on the north end of his property, so then the lot became 75 by 190. And then as part of this process, I have an offer to purchase an additional 10 feet on the north property line, so the ultimate parcel will be 85 feet wide, and it's 190, but because of the curvature of the lake, it's actually probably about 200 at the 85th foot dimension.
Have you talked to the neighbors in the township about this project?
Yes, sir.
Everybody is favorable?
Yes, they are.
And what type of foundation will this be on?
The existing structure is just on a slab. The new one will have a basement. We won't know for sure the depth of the basement. I've dug a hole. I've stood in it. It's 6 feet. I didn't hit the high water mark, so I'm hopeful I'll have a basement of somewhere between 7 to 8 feet deep.
Will you be doing any more filling in the area, raising the grade of the home or anything?
The new home will be approximately 12 inches above the existing, and we'll tie into it in one corner, and I'll have a 2-step drop into the existing structure.
And finished height of the new addition will be approximately?
Probably 26 feet maximum.
How will you deal with the potential for erosion and stormwater runoff?
The erosion, we will put a silt fence in during construction, and we will be putting in gutters, and the runoff from the roof will be directed toward the back of the property, and the rain guards are something we're definitely going to consider.
Any other improvements planned at this time?
No, there will not be done.
All other setbacks will be met?
Yes.
Can you tell us anything about the septic system?
The septic system, to our understanding, it was put in new in about 2002, and a brand new well at about 173 feet was put in 2005, and it was hooked up just before we bought the property.
You understand that you're also non-conforming due to the water setback, correct?
That's correct, yes, sir.
Can you tell the board how you're going to address the mitigation required to make such an addition when you're so close to the water?
Well, first of all, in our shoreline is completely natural. I've done nothing other than my 4-foot pier section in there. All of the plants there are native, other than we have reed canary grass, which we did an experiment on earlier this year where we killed a portion of the reed canary grass, and we put in some native plants we purchased from JJ Nursery out of Wild Rose, just to see if they would take. They took very, very well, and we plan to rid ourselves of the reed canary grass, but everything else in there is natural native plants to this area. We will, when we're done, we will not have a lawn. I've lived in Brookfield for 35 years, and I'm tired of lawns. 33 years ago, I was the first person in Brookfield to put in prairie plantings, and that's what we plan to do here, given consideration of the oak savanna forest that's currently behind us. And then my older brother's doing an extensive prairie restoration, so when we're done, we'll have kind of a combination of prairie oak savanna landscaping. There won't be a lawn, it won't be fertilized, it won't be watered or anything like that. And we will not have a hard surface driveway, it'll just be the rotten granite.
Look at rain gardens, they could be also part of the mitigation factor.
Yes, yeah, because again, we're kind of environmentalists in the sense that native is, we feel good, and I don't want to have to mow any lawn anymore, ever again.
If an approval were granted, when are you planning construction?
We would hope to start the excavation and have the foundation poured by the end of October, and then we would have the construction of the new portion begin probably late October, early November, and the ideal would be ready for us to occupy perhaps April 1st to May 1st in that time frame.
Any other committee questions at this time? Okay, thank you.
Thank you very much, I appreciate it. And if I may, oops, I'm sorry, the sheriff left, but I just commend him on how he handled the law enforcement situation.
We'll pass it on.
Correspondence?
DNR commented on this too regarding the Hanson Joint Revocable Trust request. The department understands an existing non-conforming principal structure and attached porch lie well within the required 75-foot ordinary high water mark setback of the Washera County Zoning Code. The porch sits 58 feet from the ordinary high water mark, and the principal structure sits 68 feet from the ordinary high water mark. The proposed expansions are beyond the required 75-foot ordinary high water mark setback. The applicant is currently removing invasive reed canary grass in the shoreland area and replacing it with native shoreline vegetation. The applicant proposes to use rain gutters to capture and direct roof runoff from the roofs to the back portion of the lot. Since the proposed expansions are beyond the ordinary high water mark setbacks, section 58-235 parens B3 applies, except for not meeting the side yard setback. One of the requirements of this section of the code is mitigation. Thus, it is appropriate to include mitigation under section 58-903 parens R as a condition of a granted variance. If the board finds the applicant has demonstrated meeting all three criteria required for granting a variance, the department recommends the following be required as conditions. Continue to install and maintain a full vegetative buffer as per section 58-903 N1, 3A, and 5 of the Washera County Zoning Code. The width should be based on 85 feet at the purchase of the additional 10 feet from the neighbor is finalized. Direct all the water from gutters into a Washera County Land Conservation Department approved rain garden or other engineered infiltration system. Please note that these comments are in regard to shoreline zoning only and do not reflect applicable erosion control, waterway permitting, or other department regulations. And that is signed by Mike Wenholtz, Wisconsin DNR.
And we have registered to speak in favor, Raymond and Sharon Hansen.
To me, Richard Hansen.
Richard, okay, sorry.
I'm sorry. My name is Richard A. Hansen, Dick Hansen. I am, Skip happens to be my brother, my younger brother. There are 4 Hansen cottages on Porter's Lake right near each other. I'm a lifetime visitor here, a longtime property owner, and fortunately and happily we've been able through the Hansen Trust to acquire all of the land that lies east of Shanahan Lane, from Porter's Lake all the way around the end of the lake, past the bay to the last home on Pine Lane. The reason I'm particularly desirous of having Skip and Sharon here, Our intent in this land is to, you ask a lot of questions about environmental care and stewardship. We're involved in 50 acres of restoration right now on prairie and forest with the U.S. Fish and Wildlife people and the Karner Blue Butterfly Program. Throughout the land, we're doing intensive work even in the swamp, and Skip, above all of my family members and friends, Skip is instrumental in helping me, Skip and Sharon both, and you'll never find a better land steward than Skip and Sharon. If they're not out picking by hand the milfoil out of the lake, they're in the woods cutting buckthorn. I think the buckthorn trees shake when they see Skip coming near them. So I hope that you'll consider their application, and I thank you for letting me speak at this late hour. Thank you.
Thank you. Register only in favor but not speak, Warren Jones. Okay. Warren Jones, register in favor but not speak. Staff comments?
Another variance application. This one's a little different because the property is too close to the lake as well as the side lot line. But according to our code and the new state regulations governing additions to structures that are too close to the water, the addition can be done provided the landowner mitigates the construction with certain items that are shown to protect water quality, wildlife habitat, and natural scenic beauty. So this addition could be done if the existing structure met the side lot setback. I think that's important to remember. But it does not, so that's why we are here, because of the side lot setback of the existing structure, not because of the water setback. And we've discussed this with the landowner, and they understand they need to perform those shoreline mitigation items in order to make the addition. It means also that this particular variance request, well, I said that already, sorry, does not mean that the board cannot deny the request or require other mitigation for the construction, or even dictate what some of those mitigation items should be, rather than just leave the options all to the landowner. So that's something that you can keep in mind. It merely means that the request has come about because of the side lot setback infraction. The decision to grant a variance, again, must be backed by substantive reasons. There must be an unnecessary hardship caused by the code requirement. There are unique property limitations that prevent the landowner from meeting the required dimensional standards, and that if the variance is granted, no harm will be done to the public interest or the zoning code. When the board visited the property, they noted that there is a boathouse on this property that does not meet the side lot setback, but that it is not a visual obtrusion because it is located a good distance from the shoreline. The septic system is newer, and it is sized for 2 bedrooms. I do believe the construction will be 3 bedrooms, so we might have to address that with a undersized system affidavit, and that revegetation and stormwater management could be highly desirable mitigation items for this project. There was a lot of misunderstanding in my office, so in my notes I must say it 5 times that this is because of the side yard setback, not the water setback, because that can be mitigated. And that's it for my comments.
Okay, Ronald and Diana Ditter with Oshkosh, Wisconsin, made an application for variance in accordance with section 58-236, paragraph 18 and paragraph D of the Waushara County Zoning Code to store a 2007 Forest River Incorporated 25-foot travel trailer within 4 feet of the northerly lot line and to within 13 feet of the westerly lot line, 100-foot setback required in the AG General Agricultural Zone. Location on approximate 16.34 acre parcel of land known as Lot 1, certified survey map number 6152, being part of the southwest 1/4, the northwest 1/4, Section 33, Town of Bloomfield, Aspen Avenue. We heard this, you're going to do it mainly for deer hunting. You're not going to slaughter any deer out there, are you? No.
Hopefully one giant in my lifetime. And my wife's going to get it.
Were you approved for the conditional use?
Yes, I was.
Now, anything else you need to tell us?
Unless there's any further questions, I'm kind of very restricted. I know what I bought in the property. It's only beautiful if you are a deer hunter. There's really no other purpose for this land. And that did happen to be the only dry section, so to speak, of that particular area.
I think we were fortunate it was dry when we drove down there.
I was there when it was heavy rains, and I was able to drive down without four-wheel drive. That lane
You
is
were.
actually in very good condition.
Okay.
In
Recent,
fact, Kyle was there right after those very heavy rains on his first visit.
recent survey, and you're sure of all the lot lines?
Absolutely.
Talk to the neighbors in the township about this?
Yes.
Any other improvements at this time?
Not at this time, other than a little road work I will do. There was the first mud hole that will be repaired.
All other setbacks, you're not meeting much as far as setbacks.
That's clearly understood, and I guess I wouldn't be asking for this if it wasn't other than its location with the ag fields and being as far off the road as I am and protected by the fence lines.
The wetland was marked, we noted that.
Very clearly.
You're gonna be 30 to 50 feet from that, is that
50
correct?
feet with the location of the trailer as it was staked.
Okay.
Actually, we measured it, and you're only 33.
30, I thought.
Yep. So if they're going to consider an approval, they would need to amend the application to include that setback as well.
Okay.
Is there any way you could come closer to meeting the required setbacks? There really isn't, is there?
Not really. Not without removing 40 or 50 trees, which would then open up that area back to the Pine Breeze Dairy egg fields, which would be a nightmare. That might get me in, and then I would have to figure out a way to get out, because now I would be pulled into that particular direction.
How often do you plan on taking this trailer in and out?
As far as I'm concerned, I would like to leave it there as long as possible, although never to let it get to a rundown condition. This is a place where my wife and I would be looking to spend evenings during the deer hunting season. Again, as I explained earlier, also introducing our grandchildren into hunting, so I'm very fussy about where I'm going to sleep at night, so I'm not going to let something get run down or rodent-ridden or overrun.
So you're looking for a permanent home there?
No, not necessarily. I live 35 to 40 minutes away on Lake Winnebago and Oshkosh. Again, this is for overnight hunting, early morning hunting.
You wouldn't bring it in the fall and leave it there for the hunting season and take it back home or store it somewhere else? Is that, maybe that's what they're asking.
I would prefer to leave it on the property. Currently, right now, in this purchase, I purchased 81 acres, and I'm looking to double that very shortly in the connecting land. So with that amount of acreage, I seriously was hoping to be able to keep a camper on my own property.
Any other committee questions?
Excuse me, the other additional property that you are thinking about buying, is that the Carol Kratz property now?
Yes, that is one that I am.
Okay, and so you own beyond her then also?
Yes, I
Looks like
actually.
there's some higher ground there.
No, that was all in the wetland and no clear access route to it other than by what I'm doing. I bought the land just south of the ag fields, and what I'm looking to do is continue purchasing to connect into my back 48 and then from there proceed to the west. My only access route is into that first section, which is noted as 16 acres, but I really own 33. I own section 1 and section 2 of that front parcel.
George, go ahead.
You had said that you prefer to leave the trailer there, which means we've got to look to hardships and not inconveniences, but you could drive in and out with your trailer.
Yes, I could if I had to.
Inconvenience, though.
It would be a great inconvenience. Plus, I would have to come up with a secondary storage facility or rent, which I'm currently doing now because of the time frame of getting everybody and having the Corps of Engineers and the DNR, and I've actually been having to store the trailer, paying a monthly fee right now with owning all this additional property. We do live on a channel property off Lake Winnebago where I don't have enough facility at my normal home to store that trailer.
You understand the normal, it's supposed to be 100 feet, and you're looking at 4 feet from the lot line.
Yes.
It like shatters the, relaxation of the code.
Yes,
I mean, it's not even close.
Yes, I understand that. The driveway in is 4/10 of a mile off the road, and that's adjacent to ag fields, cornfields or bean fields. This year they happen to be corn. The distance of that 4 feet is the neighbor that did sign the letter for me, Pine Breeze, Pine Breeze Dairy, who basically said as long as I'm not putting this in his cornfield, he really doesn't care. And again, when the committee was out there, I think we kind of covered that and talked about that. If I could move it elsewhere, I certainly would, but due to the wetland restriction and where I mapped out, it was basically down to no other good options. No matter what I do, even if I were to cut down the 50 trees, I'm still going to be 4 to 5 feet off of that property line to stay out of the wetland.
And so the current owner is giving you permission to do that, and if it would change in the future, if someone else bought it, they may not like it right there. You know, it's, the current owner is saying fine, but we don't know what the future holds.
True. Again, without being in view of any other homes, again, I am 4/10 of a mile or the length of an 80-acre off of Aspen Avenue, which does digress down a hill, making it unviewable from Aspen Avenue.
Right.
I have a question on this, your hand-drawn map, is this yours?
Yes.
I have 25 feet and 25 feet where the trailer's gonna be from the 2 lot lines. Then I go to this one here that was done by the Waushara County, and it's 13 and 4.
When I did the original drawing, I was unaware of, before I purchased the property, I had called your office, had gotten into discussions of looking into purchasing this land and what the requirements were going to be and things of that nature. At that time, none of the discussion of the wetlands came up. In fact, one afternoon when I stopped here to fill out applications, I had some questions. We had pulled the map out and everything appeared to be good until somebody said, well, let's look at this other map. We had 2 maps in your office that showed the wetlands in 2 different areas. That's what prompted the first visit with having your land specialist come out, because I said neither one of these maps are truly correct. The wetland in the initial map that the girl was looking at was far deeper into that front section. The new map showed that wetland being adjacent to the agricultural field and how it ran on my property line. Through that first visit with Kyle, that prompted the DNR, the Corps of Engineers, to come out and reinvestigate truly where is the wetland, which gave it a completely different location than on either of your maps. That initial map that I drew up was based off of my initial, I think I can put it here, after all the visits from all the official offices prompted that secondary map saying, well, Ron, you're going to have to move this up here to try and meet this here, and this is probably going to be your best location where we think you should place the camper trailer. And again, it's a camper trailer. It's not a permanent structure.
Any other committee questions? Thanks.
Thank you.
Correspondence?
We have the letter from the Army Corps of Engineers. I will read it again just to refresh your memory. It's addressed to Kyle. As discussed during our on-site field visit on July 19th, our agency has no concerns with the placement of the travel trailer at the proposed location. We delineated the wetland boundary near the proposed site, and the trailer would not be parked in a wetland. However, due to the close proximity of wetlands near his property line, it appeared that there were no practicable sites that would meet the county's wetland setback. As stated previously, the Corps would have no issues with the county granting a variance to Ron Ditter to park his trailer at this location. In addition, it seems like the most logical place for the trailer to be parked in order to avoid any disturbance to his property and the adjacent wetlands. Please feel free to consider your comments and your determination. Also, please let me know if you have any questions. Thank you for coordinating this project with our agency. And that's signed Eric Norton, U.S. Army Corps of Engineers.
No one registered. Staff comments?
Again, it's a variance. We are looking at a relaxation of dimensional standards in the code. The decision to grant a variance must be backed by substantive reasons, which include an unnecessary hardship. Unique limitations are on the property that prevent the landowner from meeting the required dimensional standards. And if the variance is granted, no harm will be done to the public interest or the zoning code. When the board visited the property, they noted that the placement of the travel trailer does not come close to meeting the applicable setbacks for such an application, which is 100 feet from all property lines and 50 feet from a wetland. And the stake location is actually 33 feet from the wetland. We measured that when we were out there on Monday. They also noted that other alternatives exist for using the land as recreational or hunting land. As far as my comments go, if an approval is to be considered, the application must be amended to allow the unit to be placed within 33 feet of the edge of the wetland, as well as the 4 feet from the northerly lot line and 13 feet from the easterly lot line as stated in the application. I think it's probably within your purview to manipulate those numbers if you feel that that would better accomplish something if you are considering an approval. But it is a pretty big relaxation of the setback standards in the code. But very little of this property is located out of the wetlands. And finally, I feel I have to remind you that variances are supposed to apply a minimum relaxation of the code so that permitted uses can be carried out on properties. Unoccupied storage of a travel trailer is not a permitted use in the ag zone. It is a conditional use. You could probably argue that it's now permitted because they did get the conditional use permit approval from the Planning and Zoning Committee, but it's really not one of the listed permitted uses. So it's up to your discretion.
Did you talk with Kyle on this, on the sketch he made on 6/25/13?
About the wetland setback?
Yes.
Yep, and he just went to that other tree.
Possible location that may be 100 feet and 50 foot?
Yeah, but I don't think it does. You know, after being out there, there's no way that they're gonna.
The trees are such that you can't get through.
And that, well, no, and the wetland comes too close to that northerly lot line. I think Mr. Ditter is right, that by the time you got 50 feet from the wetland, even on the northern edge, you're gonna be right on or over that northerly lot line, because it comes up in there a long ways. I'm not positive where the northerly lot line is, but if it follows the edge of that field in any way, shape, or form, it is. There isn't probably a compliant location on the property, I guess is what I'm telling you.
The applicant have anything rebuttal or?
The only other thing that I would note in the property from the previous owner, this particular clearing or area when you first enter the property from the drive-in had been what they had called their parking area for the last 40 years. It was a well beat down trail, harder ground that was tested, and it's well noted to the neighbors that during any deer hunting seasons, that's where all vehicles were parked. So it is a well-established parking area that had been cleared. There's an old picnic table that was left there, numerous skids that were stacked up. So I just wanted to make that clear that it was being utilized in that shape of some manner.
Okay. That closes the public hearing. We will go right into our business meeting if you want to recess.
Please.
A few minutes.